TV.
Number 1 for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
This is Friday, the 21st of May. Good morning, I'm Jason White. Right now in Ottawa, high thin cloud, 21 degrees. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. 10 days out from the expiration date of thousands of doses of AstraZeneca vaccine. And we're expecting to soon hear what the province plans to do with all of those vials after the shot was put on pause due to concerns over very rare blood clots. Our Kevin Meisner is at Queen's Park and joins us with the latest.
We'll hear from Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health on the status of the AstraZeneca vaccine in the province at 10 o'clock this morning. 680 News will carry the announcement by Dr. David Williams live. It's expected he will clarify the options for people who already got their first shot of AZ and are wondering what they do now. Yesterday, Dr. Williams did hint that people may be given a choice: take their second shot of AZ or opt for a booster of another vaccine.
And we want to make sure the data that you have, our physicians have, pharmacists, as well as our mass centers, is everything that you need to do to make the right decision, and that we can assure you that it's a safe undertaking to do, and you get the best coverage.
Ontario has about 45,000 AZ doses in storage right now. They're due to expire at the end of the month. A new shipment of 250,000 new doses expected to arrive in Ontario in the next few days. Now, the province is no longer giving first doses of AstraZeneca. That's because of the risk of potentially life-threatening blood clots had increased to 1 in every 60,000 people. The risk is 1 in a million patients for the second shot. I'm Kevin Meisner.
City News Time 9:01. Ontario's outdoor amenities allowed to reopen tomorrow do not include splash pads, much to the irritation of some local residents and politicians. The province says it will not allow water activities to open until step 1 of the 3-step roadmap to safely reopen the province, not expected to happen for a few more weeks. Many Ottawa City councillors took to social media to express their disapproval, and Mayor Jim Watson has asked the Premier to reconsider the decision. One more workday till the long weekend and one more sleep until golfers can tee off, many of them for the first time this year. The outdoor amenities reopening tomorrow does include golf courses, tennis courts, sports fields, and marinas. But the rest of the province's pandemic reopening plan doesn't roll out for a few more weeks, meaning dining on a patio likely won't happen for a few weeks, and shaggy haircuts will likely be a thing until mid-July or later. Good thing you're not allowed to travel or not supposed to be traveling this weekend. A major bridge to Montreal is closed. Quebec officials suddenly closed the bridge that carries the 40 onto the western tip of Montreal yesterday, citing safety reasons. A Transport Department news release said workers saw damage to reinforcing rods that could have weakened the structure of the aging bridge. In the meantime, tolls have been suspended on the 30 over the St. Lawrence River, as the closure is expected to have significant effects on Montreal traffic. Strong criticism of the BBC from Prince William in the wake of the findings of an investigation into the methods used to secure an explosive television interview with Princess Diana in the mid-90s. ABC's Tom Rivers is in London.
False documents were used to convince Diana to grant the BBC the interview. William says,
if the BBC had properly investigated the complaints and concerns first raised in 1995, my mother would have known that she'd been deceived.
The BBC, he adds, let his mother down on 2 counts.
She was failed not just by a rogue reporter, but by leaders at the BBC who looked the other way rather than asking the tough questions.
The BBC's failures, he contends, worsened Diana's feelings of paranoia. Tom Rivers, ABC News, London.
City News Time 9:03. Meteorologist Jill Taylor's here with your long weekend forecast.
We'll have varying amounts of sun, cloud, just a slight chance of showers. The main story, though, hot and humid for us today. The high 32 degrees will feel more like 35 to about 37. Possibility of some wet weather at times. Not a complete washout, though, Saturday and Sunday. Still quite warm for Saturday, a gusty wind. Will start to cool down Sunday. Noticeably cooler, though, Victoria Day Monday. For today, the high 32.
Mostly cloudy right now. 21 in Ottawa, 23 in Smiths Falls. I'm Jason White. For News Anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Separating headlines
from hearsay.
It's the Rob Snow Show on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Friday. We made it.
Made it to the May 2-4 long weekend. And I really hope you get a chance to get out and enjoy it while following all the ever-changing rules and regulations. Wear a mask, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart, and get a shot if you can. And all of this will be over soon enough, and we may salvage Canada Day yet. Good morning. Welcome to the Rob Snow Show on City News. All the great Friday fare on the way. In just a few moments from now, we will be joined by the legendary Hall of Fame broadcaster and best-selling author Lowell Green. Bourque is back from Bourque Newswatch. Steve Warne on hockey on the Gatineau Senators. The Gatineau Senators. All the comments from Eugene Melnick this week about our hockey club and that hockey game last night. That was a good one. It was a good one. Habs beat the Leafs. John Tavares said to be doing okay. And tomorrow night, Game 2. Hockey night in Canada, Leafs and Habs in the playoffs, a Canadian classic, a pretty good Saturday night. We'll do our Queen's Park Week in Review with our MPPs. So much to cover since the Premier, Doug Ford, announced his latest and greatest new and improved grand reopening for the province of Ontario. Please, dear Lord, I pray to you, dear Lord, let this be the last one. Amen. Amen. And you're in the middle of it all. Yes, you are. You always are. During our Talkback Hour, and today it's a Friday free-for-all, right? Coming up right after the 10 o'clock news. We love the Friday free-for-all around here. We don't come up with the topics. You come up with the topics. We just do our best to roll with it. Within reason, it's wide open. You call me. 750-1310, 750-1310, 613-750-1310. Bring up an issue, raise an issue. Maybe it's been in the news. Maybe you think it should be in the news. Maybe it's something that's been all over the news and you don't think it's news at all. Whatever thing that happens to be, we can pick it apart, boot it around, ask around. It's the hottest hour of talk radio in town. I mean, what a week. David, what a week in the news business. It just didn't stop. Every single day, something big was breaking. One big story after another, and I'd love to get into a week's worth of news with you. I mean, we have the reopening plan now. You know, what do you think of it? Some say it goes too slow. Others say it goes too fast. We have the great Ottawa splash pad controversy. Open the golf courses, close the splash pads. I hate that. I'm going to trip all over that all day. Splash pads. Splash pads, you can't say it 5 times fast. Say it 5 times fast. No, I'm not going to say it 5 times fast. Too hard. But it's like, you know, the Ford government, it finally comes to its senses. Yes, okay, you can go play golf. You have a tee time yet?
I have 3 tee times.
Good for you, David. It's well earned. It's well earned. Tennis, shoot hoops, play catch, whatever. Go. Have fun. Be outside. Okay? But despite a heat warning, we have a special weather statement in effect. It's going to be stinking hot. Right? A hot, steamy few days. Despite that, the same provincial government says, no, you cannot use a splash pad. I mean, come on, guys. Have a heart, okay? And if you can't have a heart, have a brain. And if you can't have a brain, have half a brain, okay? No. Mobility. Leave the taps turned off. And schools. You know, you do a whole reopening plan, but you can't say anything about schools? The Ontario public education system has 2 million students. More than 150,000 employees. Think of the parents who are all in limbo about school. Life revolves around school. And you know, at this point, there's really only a month left in the school year. Can someone in government just make a decision? You're going to get heck for whatever decision you make. Just make a decision. Just give parents some certainty, one way or the other. In Nova Scotia, they canceled in-class learning for the rest of the school year. Schools are closed. See you in September. In Quebec, the elementary schools have been open for weeks. In Alberta, K-12 open for in-class learning right now. Yet here in Ontario, it's just this never-ending state of suspended animation when it comes to in-class learning. Some certainty would be nice. Parents have earned it. Students are struggling. Vaccines, big story this week. Great column by Mohammed Adam in the paper today. I mean, what is to become of them? Those who had one dose of AstraZeneca vaccine, what of them? What next? What now? Will they ever get an AstraZeneca dose again? Or will they have no choice but to mix and match? I think, I said this yesterday, I think this is how it's headed for me. I had one dose of AstraZeneca. I have a very strong suspicion now. My second dose is not going to be AstraZeneca. It's probably going to be Pfizer. And if they say that's okay, well, I guess I don't have much choice, do I? And that's what I'll have to do. I mean, at this point, it's just, give me 2 shots. I don't care what 2 shots here. Just give them to me. If you caught my Snow and 60 commentary this morning on Shea 106 or here, it was all about the media stories this week that we're about to out-vaccinate the United States. I don't know how some reporters can make that claim. I'm sorry. What does vaccinated mean? Vaccinated to me means I've had 2 doses of a 2-dose vaccine, and I am benefiting from the full effect of the vaccine. That's what vaccinated means to me. And yet there were headlines in the Canadian news this week. We're about to out-vaccinate the United States. Well, in the United States, 38% of Americans are fully vaccinated. They have had 2 doses. In Canada, it's about 4%. If you're generous, it's about 4% of the population has had 2 doses of vaccine. That's not out-vaccinating the United States. A dubious claim at best. Bill C-10. What are they doing? My worry about this legislation, as proposed, grows with each passing day. I suggest recommended reading for you is the latest blog post by Professor Michael Geist. Just Google it while you still can. He is the country's foremost expert in internet law, okay? Canada Research Chair, for crying out loud. The Trudeau government wants to regulate your Sony PlayStation. Wants Canadian content for pornography. Wants to regulate your Spotify account, your Apple TV, your Audible audiobook service. Why? I don't know. I don't get it. My whole political ideology can be summed up this way, okay? I'm a small C conservative guy. I'm not into your social conservative culture war. It's not who I am, but I will pay my taxes gladly, and then I just want the government to leave me alone. Just let me watch what I want to watch. Let me stream what I want to stream, post what I want to post, share what I want to share. If I want to watch a mindless American TV show, what business does the government have in suggesting otherwise? If I want to post something on social media that is critical of my own government, well, isn't the charter supposed to protect me? This would jeopardize all of that, Bill C-10. And I ask you to ask yourself, why? Are other Western countries in the liberal democratic tradition considering such measures? Others are talking about getting tough on big tech, breaking up monopolies, collecting taxes, making them pay for local news. But what the Trudeau government is trying to do, it goes well beyond any of that. Why? This is the Rob Snow Show on City News.
So the Birth of Absinthe was 2002, I think, 2003, and I was working at Urban Bistro, happily, where Allium is now. And then the space where Holland Cafe was came up. It's on the corner of Spencer and Holland. And I spoke to the landlord, and there's a lot of interest from a lot of other people, but he and I just, got along super well, and he put a lot of faith in me. So Carmen Turner is his name. He gave me the lease to the place and really pretty much gave me all the equipment in the place. So I was really lucky. I've been really lucky with landlords that way, actually, both my current landlord and Carmen Turner. Because if there hadn't been Carmen Turner, there wouldn't have been Absinthe. So we were there for a few years and just sort of outgrew the place. And then now we're here. It's obviously been tough, and it's been tough for everyone. I mean, that's been the big democratic sweep of in restaurants and the hospitality and the arts that we were talking about earlier. It's like everybody's been impacted pretty much the same. From everybody that I talked to, we're down 80%. We're climbing out now. I think one of the saddest things is everybody, we went down to 2 employees from 25, and we're now at 4, and we're bringing 2 new people on this week, so we'll be at 6. So it's little steps. So it's been tough. It's I've got the most expensive clubhouse ever here, because some days you come and you don't do any business, but you're here. But I'm grateful for what I do have. I think everybody's optimistic now, not necessarily just about the vaccine, but about the vaccine, spring, being able to be outside. I think you're going to see a lot of pop-up things happen in parking lots and on sidewalks and like that, rather than being actually inside somebody's commerce. I think we'd like to take it outside. I know my staff would. My staff like the outdoors now, all of a sudden, all 4 of us. 6 soon. But we'll be doing some business in the patio in the parking lot, and we have a patio out front. And I hope other restaurants and stores will do the same. I hope that they take advantage of the sidewalk and doing sort of, guerrilla marketing and stuff like that, and really shaking it up a bit. You can find us at Absinthe Cafe at 1208 Wellington Street West in Hintonburg, and you can find us online at absinthecafe.ca.
The world is changing.
So keep up with Rob.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Good morning, Lowell Green.
Morning, Rob. You're asking why concerning Bill C-10. I think there's 2 reasons. I guess the number one is, they want to pass Bill C-10 because they can, right? I find one of the things I find very interesting here is that the political party, the Bloc Québécois, that wishes to destroy Canada, certainly the Canada that we know, I mean, that's the raison d'etre, that's why it exists, to destroy Canada as we know it. They're going to join with the Liberals to pass a bill that in effect will censor people like you and I. So there's 2 reasons. Number one, they can, and I guess any government that feels that it can exert more power and get away with it, I guess they're going to do it. Certainly this one anyway. The other reason is much more concerning, at least for me. I think the real intent here is to give the government even more censorship powers over ordinary people. One of the goals, I am sure, of Bill C-10 is to wipe out once and for all the rebel news media. I didn't realize this, but Rebel has over 1 million subscribers. That becomes a very powerful force. And I think one of the things that Trudeau is very concerned about is more people, perhaps someone like you or even me, for example, or someone else out there in the bushes, and start starting up a similar website or podcast or whatever it is. And this is, the government is very concerned that it won't be able to have its thumb on that kind of broadcasting, that kind of information. Already, I mean, let's face it, the government pretty well has its thumb on almost the rest of the media. You're one of the few exceptions, actually. So this, I think, is what they're really concerned about, is having too many people out there freely expressing particularly disdain and disrespect for the federal government. I think that's the real purpose here. But the fact that the Bloc Québécois, the party that wants to destroy Canada, is going to join with the Liberals to censor us, I find really ironic. Now, on another issue, and I'm glad you raised this mythology that's making the rounds, that somehow or other Canada is now out vaccinating the United States. Very briefly, without trying to confuse anyone, let me just give you a couple of facts. This is from world data, which we all use, right? The total number of doses per 100 people, that is, total number of first and second shots in various countries. This is really what matters. I won't go through a lot of other countries other than to say that Chile, for example, has 90 doses per 100 people. The UK, 86 doses per 100 people. That's first and second doses. The United States, 84 doses per 100 people. Canada, 53. Okay, that's a fact. So don't talk to me about we're catching up to the United States. The United States, right as of yesterday afternoon, had vaccinated first and second shots 84 people for every 100, all right? Canada, 53. Let me give you another figure. The United States, thus far, has administered 280 million vaccine shots. Canada has administered 19.84 million. Are we anywhere near the United States? Absolutely not. There's one other thing, and then I want to move on to something else. People seem to forget, in order to fully vaccinate, and you're right, you can't call it vaccination if you're only half vaccinated. In order to have 30 million people out of a population of almost 40 million, in order for the 30 million people to have both shots, we need 60 million doses of vaccine. Thus far, more than 5 months into this, Rob Snow, we have administered slightly less than 20 million. In other words, 5 months later, we are still only at about 1/3 of people being fully vaccinated, all right? 1/3. That we have 2/3 yet to go after 5 months. We need 60 million doses at least. So far, we have administered only about 20 million. I just throw that out. So don't talk to me, everybody else out there not doing their homework. Don't talk to me about catching up to the United States. We are so far behind that, I won't use an old farm expression here. Now, on something else.
Yep.
The situation with Danny Fortin, does this bother you, Rob? Well, I trust your judgment on this.
Does it bother me?
Yeah.
That he's been turfed, you mean, from his position?
Well, I think his life has pretty well been ruined, no matter whether he's guilty or innocent. His life.
Well, what bothers you about it?
This is something that occurred apparently, and he's denying it, 30 years ago. Okay? Yeah. He was just a teenager, probably. All right? 30 years ago, something has cropped up from 30 years ago that essentially has destroyed this guy's life. You know, no matter whether he is declared totally as pristine as the driven snow, then in the minds of many people, he's still guilty. But on the other hand, here is our prime minister, who we know was guilty of something involving a young woman. He has admitted it 20 years ago. And this guy, Trudeau, gets to continue to smile.
Well, I wouldn't say he's admitted it. He has said people experience things differently, is what he said.
But so here is Danny Fortin Something happened, apparently, 30 years ago when he was just a youngster, okay? 30 years ago. And so it's come back, apparently, to haunt him. He denies it. But here's the Prime Minister who has admitted, in fact, there was even a news story in a West Coast newspaper about this from 20 years ago, and people don't seem the least bit concerned. I don't understand why we are so concerned and outraged over something that may have happened 30 years ago to Danny Forte, but we don't give a sweet flying foxfire over something that happened to the Prime Minister 20 years ago.
It's certainly, is it a double standard?
Double standard. Look up in the dictionary and you're going to see the picture of the two of them.
Forte is removed. I wouldn't say immediately because they knew about it in March. Maybe they're trying to keep it all under wraps or what. I don't know. But they knew about it anyway. And as soon as it broke, he's gone.
Yeah.
But the Prime Minister's still there.
Still there.
Yeah.
And still being adored. I mean, women in this country, and we've talked about this many times, will essentially vote for this guy almost 2-to-1 over men, despite everything he has done that we know he has done with strong women. I mean, I don't want to go.
Well, I mean, even the Abacus data poll this week said it was north of 70% of women view him favorably as a feminist. It is mind-boggling.
Yeah. Now we're running short of time. On the announcement he had yesterday about the gradual opening, I thought this is very, very interesting and I think quite clever, because essentially what we're talking about here, with the exception of the golf courses, et cetera, being open tomorrow, we're talking here about the more people who become vaccinated, the more open the province can become. The three stages are all tied to the rate of vaccination. The more people who get vaccinated, the sooner we can open up, the more we can open up. This does a number of things. First of all, it adds a little bit of, I think, certainty. So, in other words, we have a goal here. And secondly, perhaps even more importantly, it really puts pressure on some of these anti-vaxxers. We now can point to them and say, listen, you'd better get vaccinated or we're going to have to continue a lockdown. Speak to your friends, your relatives, et cetera, convince them you've got to get. If you don't want to do it yourself, then do it for your neighborhood, do it for your city, do it for your province. You know, this is your civic duty now, because the sooner you get vaccinated, the sooner we can open up the damn businesses, the sooner we can open the damn splash pads. Good point. So it does two things. Now, you're right. There's criticism, and there'll always be criticism. And you had said it right. Some people think it's too fast, others too slow. But as for this business with the schools, we'd like some certainty. But I listened very carefully to the Premier yesterday, and he's very concerned because the doctors are telling him, and I'm sure you heard this, that if in fact we open the schools, that this will create an uptick of about 11% of infections. And as he said, he's very, very concerned about that, and rightly so. So that's and people seem to forget that. Okay, are you prepared to risk an uptick of 11% or 10% or whatever it is?
Well, what I'm saying is, if he's not willing to risk it, then just make the call and say, we'll see you in September.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then at least that's what they did in Nova Scotia. So
I agree.
I have to ask you, I'll give you, we'll spare you 2 more minutes here, okay? I'm dying to ask you this all week because you were there in the middle of it all, doing the radio shows, going to rallies. You know that Pierre Trudeau stood up to the nationalists in Quebec and the separatists in Quebec.
Oh,
he called
absolutely.
This was the battle of for much of his political life.
That's correct.
Was fighting against them.
That's right.
The son does not have the same fight in him, it seems. What do you think about this?
Well, I couldn't agree more. And in fact, Trudeau must be spinning in his grave. Papa Pierre must be spinning in his grave. Trudeau had great disdain and expressed disdain for the separatist movement. What did he call them? A bunch of sleazebags? There's words to that effect. This Trudeau, the son, very clearly feels entirely different. The idea that somehow or other Quebec can just unilaterally declare nationhood and in the process continue to further discriminate against the English, and the Prime Minister just dances lightly around it. This is incredible.
Well,
how the hell can one province change the Constitution? By the way, I want to point out, a lot of people forget, Quebec never signed the Constitution. How the hell can they change the Constitution that they never signed to begin with? But, I mean, surely to God, the rest of the country should have a say in this. It's not just Quebec's Constitution. It's all of our Constitution. It's all Canadians' Constitution. And you're telling me that one province unilaterally can change that Constitution, and our Prime Minister, who is pledged to defend all of Canada, democracy, etc., does nothing about it? What the hell is that?
Good stuff. Talk to you next week. Have a good long weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Keep it up. You know what, Rob?
Yeah.
You're one of the few voices out there that's making any sense these days. Keep it up, my boy. I love you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
God help us all. The news... The news is coming up with Jason, and then Bourque will be back from Bourque Newswatch. This is City News.
In Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
This is Friday, the 21st of May. Good morning. I'm Jason White. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, mostly cloudy, 23 degrees, feeling like 28 thanks to the humidity. Here's what's making news this hour. Ontario's top doctor expected to soon announce what the province plans to do with thousands of doses of AstraZeneca vaccine that are just days away from expiring. The chief medical officer will make an announcement in about a half hour from now. Splash pads will not be among the outdoor amenities allowed to reopen in Ontario tomorrow. Ottawa's mayor has urged the premier to reconsider that decision, but golf courses, tennis courts, and marinas are on the list of approved amenities to reopen tomorrow. A barn fire near Manotick has killed more than 80 head of cattle. The fire began on First Line Road near Century Road East just before 7:30 last night. Firefighters worked for 2 hours to bring the stubborn blaze under control, and heavy equipment had to be brought in to move the debris to make sure the fire was completely out. An investigator is probing the cause. OPP hoping to prevent another tragic summer on the waterways. Last year saw 32 people killed on OPP-patrolled waterways. That was a 12-year record high. Falling overboard and capsized vessels are the leading causes of death on the water, so police urge you to make sure you have a life jacket on whenever you head out on the water. City News Time, 9:33. Time now for heading back to the Rob Snow Show. I'm Jason White. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Firm.
Fair.
Fun.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
1, 2, 3. Splish splash, I was taking a bath. Long about a Saturday night. Yeah, rub-a-dub, just relaxing in the tub. tub, I put my feet on the floor. I wrapped the towel around me and I opened the door. And then splish splash, I jumped back in the bath. Well, how was I to know there was a party going on? There was a fiction and a flash, reeling with the feel, moving and a grooving, rolling and a stroke.
Get into there.
Yeah!
Get into that splash pad. Get into there. Get into there. Get into there. Get into there. Pierre Bourque is here from Bourque Newswatch. Bourque is back, baby. Good morning.
I'm ready to run off to the dock at Lac Torture and do a big cannonball.
Yeah.
This is the weekend and the weather.
I think so, yeah.
Is perfect. Hey, I was talking to a friend of mine, a friend of ours actually, who's got a spot up at Mosquito Cove, and apparently it's living up to its name because the mosquitoes this year.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They're bad this year. Yes, they are. Yes, they are very bad. Yeah.
The other night, I was outside manning the barbecue, as I do from time to time, Rob.
Yeah.
And I got eaten. I got eaten by black flies.
You were the barbecue, right?
I was the meal. Oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, look, Pierre Bourque is here from Bourque Newswatch. He's here with us every Friday morning to go over a week's worth of news. What do you think about all the second dose uncertainty? I mean, you and I are kind of in the same boat. You said you have one dose, right?
I got the AstraZeneca.
You and me both,
not a clue.
Right?
Yep,
yeah,
not a clue when I'm going to get it. They have no idea. The ones who administered it have no idea. They just said keep listening to the news. Maybe we'll find out from the chief, as your newscast just said a moment ago. We'll find out perhaps in a half an hour. Well, the uncertainty is laughable. This is Keystone Cop stuff. I mean, you know, rolling out a vaccine during a pandemic is probably not easy, even at the best of times. I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
No.
But we're supposed to have the brightest minds in the world working on this.
Yes.
And it's a disaster.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Let's say, you know, the time comes and the pharmacist calls you and they, Pierre, we got a dose for you, okay, if you want to come in, and it's Pfizer. Okay. How would you do it?
So I got the AstraZeneca. If that same pharmacist says we've got the AZ for you, and I'll say I'll be there in 5 minutes. But as I'm driving there, I'm thinking, all right, is this past its best before? Is tomorrow its best before? You know,
right? Yeah.
I'm several months into when I got my first one,
right?
And how good is the second dose? All right, so that's me. That's my mindset. If that same person calls and says we've got the Pfizer or the Moderna, I'm thinking, all right, show me the science behind that, because the people at AstraZeneca, what is the guy's name? Sir Graham Day. I might have that name wrong, but he's the guy at Oxford who's been the public. He says they don't mix and match, and he said that as recently as a few days ago on TV. And so, if that guy is saying that, what does my pharmacist know? And what is the government of Canada basing its decisions, or the government of Ontario for that matter, basing its decisions on? Sell me the sizzle. I'm ready for my second dose, but I want to make sure it's the right second dose. I don't even know now if I got the right first dose.
Right. Okay. So I have a Post-Media newspaper in front of me here. It is the Ottawa Sun. I do like the cover of the Ottawa Sun this morning. They sold the front page again. The Tragically Hip, Saskadelphia, available now on Spotify. Gord Downey, back in your ears again, and I listened to some of this pretty good stuff. But then page 7, Ottawa Sun today, let me read this to you. Post-Media Network Incorporated will be launching its own parcel service this summer, levering its newspaper delivery network to meet the growing consumer demand for at-home package delivery. Post-Media Parcel Services plans to fill the gaps in the middle and final mile parcel services, delivering small packages to homes in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario, according to a press release issued Thursday. So we have Torstar, which is the publisher of the Toronto Star. Isn't it getting into the gambling business? Online gambling or something like that? And now maybe some of the, journalism doesn't pay well, okay? So maybe this will be part of the job description now. Not only do you have to write stories for the newspaper, you have to deliver it too.
I love the newspaper people. And in fact, well, look, you won't know this. Our listeners won't necessarily know this, but on my mother's side, McNeil, my grandfather was a sports writer and the sports editor of the Montreal Gazette, and his father was a sports editor and the publisher of the Montreal Gazette, and then went on to be the head of Canadian Press. And like, I've always loved news, and I've always enjoyed newspapers, and I've always appreciated journalists. I don't really call myself a journalist. I'm just a news aggregator. I respect journalists for what they do. But if you've got some of the, John Willing, for instance, from the Ottawa Sun, the head of Post Media is Andrew McLeod. Supposing John gets his mobile phone buzzes, it's Andrew McLeod, and John goes, "Oh my gosh, what's the big boss want?" And Andrew tells John, he says, "Some good news and some bad news."
John, you work half the day at City Hall.
Yep.
And the other half, we're having you go around Sandy Hill to deliver parcels.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a sign of the times. Look, newspaper as an industry is a basket case.
Right.
I mean the newspaper.
Well, I mean the news industry. I think all of us, we're all kind of suffering, right? And this is a nice segue into big tech.
But look at just before we get to the tech part of it, the old style newspaper that you yourself have been rummaging through this morning. You've been fingering through it, and you saw this. That is dead. That's a dying breed.
Yeah, I know.
The costs have gone through the roof. The costs have gone through the roof.
Yes.
And the readership for it has dropped out of sight. And so you've got these wild swings in both the opposite wrong directions here. And so if you don't have the readership of the paper itself, and the cost of the paper has gone through the roof, and you've got all kinds of unionized jobs related to that are tied into that, and you have no advertisers because they're all being sucked up by technology, and we'll get to that in a sec. But how do you put that forward? You have to take the John Willings of the world and say, John, you're in the delivery business now, because we can't sustain this with advertisement because we don't have the audience for it. There are not enough Rob Snows out there that are picking the newspaper up, or the Lowell Greens that are picking up the Citizen and going through it, leafing through it as they're sitting in the hammock.
Okay. Well, big tech has been eating the newspaper business and the traditional news media for lunch for many years. Now, it's no secret to anyone, but you're a news junkie and a news aggregator, okay? So what is I do wonder how Bill C-10 would affect a site like Bourque Newswatch. What's your understanding? You sometimes post your own musings on there, for example.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about it. I don't think when this thing comes out in whatever form it does come out, it'll be so watered down, number one. And second of all, I have no idea how they're going to uphold whatever they determine it to be. And I just think it's a ridiculous bill, for one thing.
Right.
I think the guy who's in charge of it, I think he should have his knuckles wrapped. And he and on the other file, Harge Sage, and both of them should be stuck on the back bench. Surely to God, somewhere in the Liberal caucus are better MPs for both of those files. And
better ministers, better
ministers.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm a good person, Andrew, what's his name? He was the MP for the East End of Ottawa, and Andrew Leslie. Oh, and forgive me, Andrew, if you're listening, because I know you and you know me. But Andrew Leslie's a great guy.
Yes.
Never made it to cabinet.
No.
And some of the lunkheads that did.
Didn't even. Not only that, he chose not to run again, right?
Yeah,
which kind of says it all. And
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
No, I don't blame him. So there's a lot of that going on. I don't know why they hold on to some of the dead wood, and the two that we just named, I think. Could
and John Ivison in one of his columns this week mentioned that the Prime Minister doesn't even talk to Patty Hajdu anymore. I mean, it's like she doesn't. They have these meetings about the vaccination rollout and program and everything. She's not even invited to the meetings.
Jet Set Patty, who takes the government jet back and forth to Thunder Bay. By the way, John Ivison, if he's listening, probably in the delivery business as well. Along with
come on, be nice, Pierre. Be nice, Pierre.
They're both post-media guys, and they're going to have to trade in their cars for mini.
Oh
for
man, you're getting me in so much trouble today. Holy
for minivans.
Yeah.
But I'm going to skip along here because you talked in the previous segment about Danny Fortin.
Yeah.
And Trudeau's response to questions about that as well. I didn't know. And we talk about We Charity a year ago, and frankly, for the past year, I didn't know. He says, I didn't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, what the heck is he doing if he doesn't know anything? And number two, to make, like, if I had an office and I had a bunch of staff and I didn't know anything, I'm wondering what kind of staff have I got here?
Yeah.
It's great to be able to deny that plausible deniability.
Yes.
But what kind of leader have you got when the guy's got nothing? You know, he's got, he's like, what was the guy's name? Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. He knows nothing.
I see nothing. I know nothing. I see nothing. Yeah. I have to ask you a hot local story this week. We got about 90 seconds left here. Is the $2.9 million city grant to Mark Motors, dealers of fine German automobiles. What did you think about the way that played out this week?
Those German automobiles are fine, and Mark Motors is a fantastic business, a great success story, a great local rags to riches story. You know, government support comes in all manners to all people, and I don't know the specifics of that, but I can't think that you pigeonhole them simply because of the vehicles that they sell.
Yeah,
they employ
that's what they're trying to do.
Got a lot of customers.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. I find it amazing that, like a Porsche dealership is one thing; it's been there forever, but Ottawa's kind of matured as a market for those high-end vehicles. Like we have a Maserati dealership now. I never thought we'd have a Maserati dealership. I always thought you'd have to go to, I don't know, Montreal or Toronto if you wanted to buy a Maserati. Sounds so so rare.
Rob, we have a thriving high-tech industry.
Right.
We've got lawyers and lobbyists who are making money through the yin-yang because of government being here. And you've got hockey players. You've got Shopify, Canada's most successful company, that's been minting millionaires by the dozens. And so you've got a lot of wealth in the city. It's absolutely fantastic to see that part of the city grow.
Yeah.
We should all be celebrating that.
Yeah, and those of us in the media be driving delivery vans. So talk to you.
Mike?
We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the long weekend.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Enjoy Lac Church here. Take care.
Bye-bye. Pierre Bourque of Bourque Newswatch. Mike Wood, local business owner, business advocate in our community. Next on City News.
I always knew I was going to own my own business, and I've always wanted to have a store. And I sort of figured when the right concept came together at the right time, I would move forward with that plan. And so through doing some environmental initiatives in the restaurant group that I was with prior to opening this store, it just triggered my path towards being more environmentally conscientious and wanting to make more of a difference, and hopefully encouraging, inspiring other people to want to do the same, at which point the idea for All Eco was born. I have some really fun products. I have a really wide spectrum of products. So the things we look for in terms of qualifying products are sustainably made, upcycled, recycled, zero waste, all natural, no harmful chemicals to like the environment or to our bodies. We have like fun stuff, so like really clean burning candles, lots of really natural body care and skin care. I put a real emphasis on Canadian products. I really try to support up and comers, and I always source Canada first. The refill bar is really important to me. It's really huge. I think that's been exciting as well, because I thought it was going to be a real process in convincing people that this is a better way to go. And actually it was just like right away there was a built-in affinity towards doing refill, which has been great. We closed, I think, probably we were closed down by before the second week of March. Just didn't feel we could comfortably or confidently stay open, even though I do sell essential products, like in terms of the cleaning. But we just didn't feel we could make a safe space for ourselves or our customers at that time, and especially with the information we had at the time. So we did close our doors, at which point I did not have a website, because that was I hadn't even scheduled myself to have a website at that point. So that was sort of like full speed moving towards that and trying to drive the business, at the same time still get myself on the map because I was so new. So during that time, as we were building the website, we were still doing a lot of video shopping and private shopping, online shopping, like online phone, text, any way I could do business, I was doing it. And there was really a nice show of support for my business during that time, which was really, really encouraging. And now, you know, we are fully set up online too.
A pillar of community opinion.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
Well, we all wanted to know what Doug Ford was going to announce yesterday with his latest version of Ontario's grand reopening plan, and now it's there for all the world to see. It will go in, fingers crossed, 3 phases, and it will begin on June 14th. So let's get some local reaction. Local business owner and local business advocate Mike Wood is back with me on the Rob Snow Show here on City News. Good morning.
Good morning, Rob.
What do you think of it?
Well, I think that, like anything, you know, it's a great start. I think there's always potentially some room for some tweaks and improvement, which I'm sure we will see along the way. But I am hopeful and glad to see that we have some sort of forward momentum here.
Okay. So what do you like about it?
Well, I like the fact that for restaurants, my peers that own restaurants, that outdoor dining is going to return, of course, up to 4 people per table. I think that's a great thing. I think that, you know, non-essential retail at 15%, getting people back into stores is going to help a lot of people. And, you know, the fact that people can actually get away perhaps this summer, go do a little bit of camping, I think, outside my purview, but I think that's a good thing for people's mental health.
Right. Yeah. Okay. What are some shortcomings in your opinion?
Well, there's a lot. I find it's very sectoral, right? So there's a lot of people that we probably both know that are in the personal care industries or sectors.
Sure.
And if we look at barbershops and beauty salons, it's a tough situation because I do think that if the staff and if the customers are wearing masks and they're 6 feet apart in the chair, I think that it would be safe to operate.
You know, plus, you know, I've talked to people, you know, who run these businesses. I think of the Salon owner in the Carlingwood Shopping Center has called me repeatedly. He's probably going to call me a little later, Tanya. And, you know, the investment that those people made into their own shops very early on, when we were first coming out of the first lockdown, you know, all the money spent, all the investment made, all the precautions taken, all the effort they were willing to put in to try and salvage their business, just trying to get out the other side, and you know, for naught. And even now to this point, even though we vaccinated half of the adults in the Ottawa area, even now, to have these restrictions in place for another few weeks, maybe another few months, gosh, it has to be terribly frustrating for them, Mike.
Right. And Rob, this has almost become my catchphrase, I think, is that small businesses had the most amount to lose. They took the most amount of precautions, yet there are still some that seem to be targeted, for lack of a better term, as a higher risk industry or venture. And it weighs on people. It weighs on their mental health. One of the things, too, that if you don't own a small business, you know, people have personal guarantees on loans, which means if their business can't survive this, they are at risk of losing everything, their homes or assets. So it's incredibly trying on people.
Now, Mike, let me ask you about your bailiwick in the events business, which is so directly related to things like fundraising and organizing and community events and tourism. I mean, the beautiful weather is here. Maybe a little too hot for me today. Maybe a little too sticky for me today. But nevertheless, the weather has taken a turn for the better. We are kind of coming out the other side of Tulip Fest. Looking ahead to, you know, the next few months before the cold weather sets in again, what's your sense of things from an events perspective or maybe a tourism perspective, industries that are so important and employ so many people here in the Ottawa area. What's your sense of things for the summer?
It's a great question, because at the height of just our one business here in Ottawa, at our height, top season, we would hire and have full-time staff, 50 people. And back in March 2020, we did lay off our entire staff. So if we look at the rollout that they're talking, this 3-step rollout, all it says for that phase 3 is larger indoor and outdoor gatherings. And Rob, I happened to be at my shop last night. Somebody wanted a cotton candy machine for their birthday. And it's exactly as you're describing. I stood in our parking lot, and we've got a big building, and there wasn't one truck. There wasn't the sound of a truck backing up, and it was unnerving to me. It was a weird feeling standing there for a second season of, we've got this heat, we've got where everybody would be out having a great time. And to me, for the festivals, Ottawa was Festival City prior to COVID, and it's really changed the layout and look of our city over the last 15 months.
Do you think some of it can be salvaged, though?
I hope so. I'm a positive person. I think we're going to start seeing more hybrid events. We'll see some that have an online component, and I hope that for conferences, people come back, right? Our city relied on the Shaw Center being busy and our hotels being busy. And I think we're all just hoping that sooner than later, we can see somewhat of a normal return. And of course, a lot of jobs, as you say, are depending on it.
Okay. Give us a sense on how things are going with the various supports that are out there, Mike, either from, the municipal government or the provincial government or even the federal government, and whether a lot of that has been tapped and maybe tapped out already.
Well, that's the next concern, I think, because if we look at this and we say 2 months down the road, 42 days, by July, the federal government said that some of the programs were going to start winding down, either the wage subsidy, rent, and there are a lot of businesses that aren't going to be fully operational or even operational by mid-July. And then if we look at, I was speaking to a pool hall owner yesterday as an example. Well, they've been labeled as a nightclub. And so they don't qualify for that $10,000 to $20,000 provincial grant. So there are more things to be done. There are people, I'm the first to admit that we were very fortunate. We did qualify for the Ontario grant. We did receive $40,000, our 2 payments. But there are a lot of small businesses out there that are still waiting. I'm sure you've heard on that second round of funding to come out. And hopefully sooner than later that money will be made available, because it's an incredibly hard time for many still in our city.
Okay. How is the government doing, in your opinion, say the Ford government? Local MPPs, the senior minister for this area would be Lisa MacLeod. How are they doing at listening or consulting you? There are some business organizations who feel as though these are they're not even listened to. They're not consulted before actions are taken. What's been your experience, Mike?
So for the past 15 months, I have been advocating for small business. 2 weeks ago, I was incredibly fortunate, Rob. I did have the Minister of Small Business, Pravneet Sakaria, on a call, which did see Minister MacLeod, Minister Fullerton, and as well as MPP Jeremy Roberts, MPP Goldie Gamari, join. And, I think at the end of the day, I'd like to think anyway, that decisions are made based on the information that they have. I'm not in the room. We're all not in the room when decisions are being made. So it is hard to critique exactly why decisions are being made. It can make us look at it and say, well, I perhaps would have done this differently, but, I don't have all the facts. I think that I've been very fortunate to be consulted as much as I have been. And I'm fortunate that many of the staff, I'm in a position that I can call them and get clarification or continue to push for, the next thing that is needed.
Okay. Well, thank you again for your tireless advocacy, and hope you're back to work soon too, Mike. Thank you again.
Thanks so much, Rob.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
This is City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number one for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 1011 FM and 1310 AM.
This is Friday, the 21st of May. Good morning, I'm Jason White. Right now in Ottawa, it's mostly cloudy. Fair bit of sun getting through. 23 degrees in Ottawa, 25 in Smiths Falls, feeling like 29. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. A day after the Ford government unveiled its plan for reopening as the COVID curve points down, Ontario's top doctor set to make an announcement on the AstraZeneca vaccine, with a lot of doses just days away from expiring. Our Kevin Meisner joins us from Queen's Park with a preview.
People in Ontario who got their first jab of AstraZeneca have been wondering what they plan to do next or what they can do next. Now, yesterday, Dr. Williams hinted that people may be able to choose either taking a second shot of AZ or another vaccine as their booster.
We feel confident at this stage that we hope to be moving fairly soon on ensuring second doses available for people for AstraZeneca. And we want to make sure the data that you have is everything that you need to do to make the right decision, and that we can assure you that it's a safe undertaking to do.
Now, the province stopped giving first doses of AZ after studies showed that the risk of potentially life-threatening blood clots had increased to 1 in every 60,000 people. Now, the risk is 1 in a million patients for the second shot. Ontario has 45,000 AZ doses in storage due to expire at the end of the month. A new shipment of 250,000 doses of AstraZeneca on the way to Ontario in a matter of days. I'm Kevin Meisner.
City News Time 10:02. About 1.4 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine are being delivered ahead of schedule this week. But the Public Health Agency of Canada says it's no longer confident that it will receive another 6 to 8 million doses of the Moderna vaccine next month. Provincial leaders are counting on COVID-19 vaccine availability continuing to increase and more people getting a shot as economies prepare to gradually reopen. Canada's Deputy Public Health Officer says advice on whether provinces can mix and match vaccine types for second doses should be ready early next month. One more workday until the long weekend and one more sleep until golfers can tee off in Ontario, many of them for the first time this year. Outdoor amenities reopening include golf courses, tennis courts, sports fields and marinas, but the rest of the province's pandemic reopening plan doesn't roll out for a few weeks. A major bridge to Montreal has been suddenly closed because of possible structural problems. Quebec's transport department says workers observed damage to reinforcing rods that could have weakened the structure of the aging bridge that carries the 40 onto the western tip of Montreal. The bridge's closure is expected to cause significant problems for Montreal traffic. Tolls have been suspended on the 30 over the St. Lawrence River to try to ease the situation. Let's get a look now at our long weekend forecast. Here's meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Hot and humid for us today. The high 32 will feel more like 35 to about 37 with that humidity. Tonight, cloudy, low 20. And for the weekend, we'll start with some showers tomorrow morning. Sunshine for the afternoon, and then showers return again Sunday. Noticeably cooler for Victoria Day Monday. Tomorrow's high 29, 23 Sunday. Near 20 degrees for Monday. For today, the high 32.
Mostly cloudy right now, 23 degrees in Ottawa, 25 in Smiths Falls. The humidity makes it feel like 29. I'm Jason White. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Talk back.
Hello. On the Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
It's the Friday free-for-all. We love this hour of the program around here. Even more on a Friday before a long weekend. We don't come up with the topics during the Friday free-for-all. You come up with the topics. Just about anything goes. We do our best to roll with it. And it's your last chance to yell at me, okay? Or, if you don't want to yell at me, go yell at the clouds until Tuesday of next week, okay? We're taking the long weekend. David is already on the golf course. I mean, he's here, but his spirit is already on the first tee. So, the number, 750-1310, 750-1310, 613-750-1310. Email therobsnowshow at ottawa.citynews.ca. Okay, so let's get to the phone lines. Tanya has called in. Tanya Hill, right?
Yes, good morning. How are you?
The hairstylist salon owner from the Carlingwood Shopping Center, right?
Yes, correct, and also Vice President of Ontario Professional Hairstylists Association, representing the 32,000 hairstylists in Ontario.
Okay. I love hearing from you. From time to time, you've been on the show. You've called into the show. Unsolicited. Right?
Yes, we appreciate you giving us a voice for sure.
Okay. So here we go again. It's deja vu all over again. Here's another reopening plan. What do you think of this one, Tanya?
We were completely shocked. Devastation and despair was the feeling last night among the members. We had emergency meetings, and we were just shocked. We did not see that coming at all. Putting us into July as a reopen, none of us saw that coming. There was not even a mention. Normally when that happens, there's some new program or support or funding put in place. None of that mentioned, just leaving us closed until July. That is incredible.
Totally closed.
Totally closed.
And you've been totally closed for how long now?
In Ottawa, it's been since April 5th. And in Toronto, they're at 260 days, I believe.
Okay. And why do you think that's wrong?
Well, I would say my first thing is, I don't know, Rob, have you had a massage or gone to the dentist between February and, how many of the people have done any of those services?
Right.
And I would ask, I'm here at the salon this morning trying to reschedule clients who thought they were coming June 3rd.
Yeah.
So we're here again. I would love somebody to stop in here. We have a dentist office right beside us. Go in and see their protocols and come in and compare them to what we're doing.
Right.
They're
and your
identical.
dentist is open. The dentist is open.
Yeah, so the dentist with the hygienist next door is open, and that's wonderful. And listen, I love all the businesses that get the opportunity. But the playing field and how they're coming up with these plans don't make sense. There is no data supporting that we should not be open. We've asked for that. We are trained professionals in sanitation disinfection. We have the same protocols in place as the dental office, the massage therapist, and we're still unable to work. So we have had that same messaging all along, and no reply, no reasoning. That's the frustration right now.
All right. Okay. So before they closed you down entirely, what was the protocol? What was it like? Okay, I book a hair appointment at your place. Run that through me. What would it be like for one of your clients?
We do a complete screening on the phone, reminding them of all our protocols that are in place.
Yeah.
Once they arrive, the door is only half open, and there is a team member standing at the front door who does what they call passive screening on every guest. Because of the Human Charter of Rights, we have to ask permission for temperatures, that sort of thing, but we're there to do the temperatures, ask where they've been, anybody in their family. If anybody gets any symptoms, they're going to notify us. We go through that, which we collect all their information on a Google form that we save, obviously, so for contact tracing, sanitize the hands.
Yeah.
They wait outside until the stylist is ready and the station or whatever their service they're doing has been completely ready for them.
Okay.
If it's a time of year where they have jackets, we actually have garment bags hanging in the closet that their jackets go in a garment bag. When they leave, those bags are steamed. When they come into the stylist is double masking and shielding, because that was a new recommendation. The client has the mask on the entire time. In between all of our shampoo sinks, manicure table, the hair stations is plexiglass.
Yeah.
Plexiglass at the front desk.
Yeah.
The stylist or technician is washing their hands prior. Every tool and piece of equipment, once they're done, is completely wiped down. When the client is leaving, most things is cashless. If they want to leave gratuity, there's an envelope system that nobody touches anything. The person puts it in and hands it or puts it into another container. So we've monitored that.
So Tanya, if I could just interrupt, how this entire process to get hairstyled, just as an example, how long is this added to someone's appointment, do you figure?
So I would say for the client, it hasn't added a ton because they are aware that when they come, we have to do the questing, whatever.
Okay.
It's probably more from our end and respecting the capacity issues.
Yeah.
So we probably add it 15 to 20 minutes to each service just to make sure that we have time to clean in between everybody, make sure that, we don't have excess people, staggering the start time, staggering the lunches. So we have done all of those. We have all those protocols in place. So I would welcome somebody to come in here and walk through and then go right next door and compare the two and tell me what the difference is. And even with, the retail at 15% capacity, why was our capacity not at 15% then if that's the new key number for safety?
Okay.
And why do we have all these rapid tests that are available?
Yes.
We've been asking for those. Yeah. We're happy to test our staff. We can't even get our hands on them. So what good are these complimentary rapid tests that exist?
Okay. The rent again for your shop is how much a month? You told me that
I believe
before.
It's $11,600 plus utilities.
A month?
Yeah.
You've never gotten a break on that, right?
Well, we have the never a break from our landlord.
Not from
we have that federal program to apply for, and that too. I don't think that the public is very aware that when you're applying for that, first of all, everybody knows rent's paid on the first of the month. The government doesn't design the program like that. It goes from the 15th to the 15th. Don't ask me why. So then we have to prorate, and you have to compare to last year's sales, which alters the amount that you get. And sometimes we're at places of our month where we're opening, so you have higher demand, and then you have, an announcement of closures coming, so you have higher demand again. Well, if those 15 days fall in there, you're getting maybe 20, 30%. You're not getting 75, 90 like people think you get, and it's compared to last year's sales, which depends on where you're at that time. So often, I will get $1,100, $1,400, even with the utilities a part of that. So it's not really how people see that program as working. So I'm not really sure, I guess that's their design. I don't know why we go from the 15th to the 15th. Then I pay an accountant who does that on top of it. It's not easy things for everybody to do on their own. So I'm not really sure how they were designed or what was in mind. Listen, everything's a help, and we appreciate that. But
what you want to do, you want to get open. You want to get back to work.
And
ideally.
Our staff,
sure, yeah.
Of course. They are just, I've never seen them as discouraged as this lockdown. Yeah. So you'd think with the nicer weather and all that, not my experience. They're really, really wanting to get back into the workplace. And that's what I hear too. Mr. Ford said, well, we want to do this slow reopen so everybody has a beautiful summer. Well, I don't think Mr. Ford understands how hairstylists work. If you're a busy hairstylist and we open in July, you don't enjoy the summer. We work days, nights, and weekends to service our clients. So I don't know when we're enjoying this summer that he thinks that he's done on a slow reopen. So I feel like they completely don't understand our trade. They have disregarded us from the beginning, and to some degree, I would say a prejudice placed on how you see other places being able to work when we haven't been. So it's very frustrating. I hear the mayor tweeting about everybody, let's tweet about the splash pads. That's really great, Mr. Mayor, but why don't you put the same effort on all these hair salons that are paying their property taxes to you still and have been only open 6 weeks in 2021?
Okay. I have to go. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day, Rob.
Bye, Tanya. Bye. Tanya Hill owns Tappa Hair Salon in the Carlingwood Mall. All right. Ate up a lot of the first quarter, but lots of phone lines, okay, available at 750-1310. Wide open on the Friday free-for-all talkback hour on the Rob Snow Show.
The food cupboard started about 25 years ago. Again, it was a very small operation in the basement of a church. And we have been expanding to the point where we needed to have a new facility. So in discussion with the city of Ottawa and Jan Harder, the local representative here, we came to this location, which is about 2,000 square feet, located in the Walter Baker Center. We've been here for about 2 years, and it is much better. It gives us a much broader opportunity to serve our clients better. It's a fairly affluent community in Barrhaven, so you wouldn't think that people would really need to have a food bank or a food cupboard. But people sometimes have a temporary loss of their job, maybe new immigrants or refugees to the community. Maybe there's been an injury in the family or something like a pandemic that causes people to run short of food during their monthly requirements. So we offer any clients who come and live in our catchment area the opportunity to pick up an order of food every 3 or 4 weeks. The need varies from time to time. We have expanded our offering to include quite a few perishables, eggs, milk, cheese, yogurt, vegetables, fruit, but people I think know that we need cans of beans and stuff as well too. One thing that we're consistently short of sometimes is personal hygiene products. You go to the grocery store, you buy your toothpaste and you buy your deodorant and shampoo there. People don't automatically think that to donate those kinds of things to a food cupboard. So we end up buying quite a few of those things from time to time. The pandemic has affected us like it has everybody. Initially, we had to stop the grocery store food donations so that we didn't have any risk of contamination and to have a significant number of volunteer work to be done in our facility. We have a storefront, so it's like a mini grocery store where you take a cart and you go around and pick out the things that you want. That doesn't work during the pandemic to maintain social distancing and so on. So what we have now is our clients can come in one at a time, they make an appointment, they stand behind a line, and they direct our volunteer to, I'd like Kellogg's cornflakes rather than Harvest Crunch, to pick the food that they would like off the shelves according to the allocation, depending on the size of their family. And then they take it out, load it into their vehicle or whatever, bring back the cart, we disinfect everything, and prepare for the next client. We are very blessed here in Barrhaven. We're a totally volunteer organization. So if you give a dollar to us, it goes to purchasing food or to provide some service to our clients.
It's time to talk back
on the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
Friday free-for-all, wide open. Friday before the long weekend, May 2-4, we made it. Roger in Drummond, you're on City News. Good morning.
Good morning, Rob.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to talk about my vaccine experience.
Okay.
I'm 66. I got my first vaccine yesterday in Smith Falls in the Leeds Grenfell Health Unit.
Okay.
It was just a fantastic experience, Rob.
Glad to hear it.
These people, and I told them too, when I talk on the radio, if I get a chance to talk today, I'm going to give them some fantastic accolades, because I said, you people are a class act, and I said, if this is the way, most of these people are volunteers, as we all know, if we ran government at every level, even at half of what these people have done, we'd have a fantastic country, Rob, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that said...
Well, I'm glad you got a chance to serve up some kudos this morning, Roger. It's good stuff.
I mean, these people deserve everything, you know?
Yes.
And there's so many in this country, like the people that make sure we're fed and looked after in many ways.
Yes, yeah.
Put themselves on the line.
Well said, sir.
But I want to talk about where this country is going, Rob, you know, under this leadership.
Right.
You know, I heard the interview you had with Pierre Poilievre yesterday morning, and then talking about the fact that the Bank of Canada is basically bankrolling Trudeau's
deficit spending,
you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, like, it's going to come to a point, like, if Newfoundland couldn't sell treasury bills, and it's pretty obviously from what Pierre Poilievre said that, like, a lot of the lenders are not going to be lending this government the kind of money that they're spending. So, I mean, the Bank of Canada is taking over. So what happens if the Bank of Canada, for a start, maybe gets to a point because I don't care how big you are, people fall, you know? And what happens then? And this Bill C-10, and I heard you talking with Lowell this morning there about the Rebel having a million subscribers. Like, I'm not on the internet or anything. I've never been on it.
Right.
But I would like to find a way to subscribe it because I still think there's enough good people around, Rob, to have some common sense. Now, the people who support this government, okay, I want them to think about something and think about it long and hard. All the people that Trudeau has used as pawns to get himself elected in the first place, and then once he gets elected, then he starts to discard all these people. And do these people who support this government think if he does happen to get himself a majority, which very well could happen, then he doesn't need them anymore because there's a good chance we're not going to have the same type of elections that we've had in the past. I mean, this guy is, to me, is just like a dictator in waiting. And I think Canadians are educated enough, Rob, to realize that I think now he's gone a bit too far. And I think if this country is worth saving, you look at countries like Russia and Yugoslavia, you know, they thought they were too big to fail. Well, in Yugoslavia's situation, they had a strong man, you know, Tito. And I don't know if he died. Then they had ethnic cleansing. Right now there's it's divided into different countries, and they all seem to be doing quite well. Is this what we want for Canada? I think this country is a big country. It's extremely hard to govern, and when you get a government that keeps pitting one end of the country to the other and then favoring different things, I mean, people have to realize, you know, what is going on here, and when are we going to stop this insanity?
Okay. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend, sir. Bye-bye. Up next, Ruth in Canada. Ruth.
Oh, hi, Rob.
Holy cow, there's a blast from the past right there.
Anyways, have you heard about the Energy Evolution Plan and the official plan by the City of Ottawa?
I'm familiar with the official plan. The Energy Evolution, I'd have to be reminded about it. I read so much stuff.
They okayed this in October 2020.
Okay, I was probably ranting and raving about it then. So
right.
That's
the
2 years
official
ago.
plan is November 2020, but it's going to be finalized in this fall.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, this is going to cost a fortune for us. And what it contains, all fossil fuels have to be phased out. Heating and transportation systems will be fully electrified.
Oh, yes, I do remember this, yeah. And the cost is, how much should it cost?
Zero emissions, waste heat utilization, and renewable natural gas production will have to be added. Sufficient renewable electricity, wind and solar mostly, generation's electricity shortage will be required to meet demand.
Wind farm on Marion Dewar Plaza coming to you,
So what will this cost out of the estimate?
I believe it was $57 billion or something like that. Yeah.
Well, this in 5 years, this is a cost $7.4 billion for the municipality. $3.2 billion is required for the 5 years to undertake the priority project identified by Section 4. We don't even know what that means. And the required for the transit network alone is $2.6 billion.
Oh, is that all? Okay.
That's in 5 years.
In 5 years.
And this is going on till 2050. And also they're using the Hydro Ottawa dividend surplus of $2.6 million to be used to fund proposed spending plans, Board of Energy Evolution, $2.6 million.
Well, it is very hot out today. It is very hot out today.
Oh, Rob, people, you got to call your counselors. This is our children and our grandchildren are coming up that are going to pay the bill for this.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for reminding me about that and how ridiculous the price tag was.
Well, let's keep letting the people know, because they're going to vote on this in the fall. Yeah. And Jan Harder and Eli Shantiri, and I hear Eli Shantiri calling about that guy squealing about $376 million for the sinkhole. Look at the money they're going to spend under the table. And the rural people don't have internet. They're not getting this information.
All right.
God help us. Thank you.
God love you, Ruth. Thank you. Yeah, that is one long-time listener right there, Ruth in Canada. My goodness. Yeah, energy evolution. The thing that made that report, okay, it's filled with all kinds of great green dreams to get the city to net zero by the year 2050, and good luck. It's the price tag is so ridiculous for one municipality of 1 million people, $57 billion. I mean, come on. There'll be nothing left. Anne in Ottawa. Good morning, Anne.
Oh, people are talking a lot of sense today. Mm-hmm. I feel so much sympathy for Tanya and all the businesses like that.
Isn't that something, eh?
And she's right. I mean, I'm going for massages. I'm going for physiotherapy and to the dentist.
Yes.
I mean, what is more intimate than all of that? I mean, they have to get right up close and personal with you. Sure. And, yeah, they have coverage on and everything like that, like PPE.
PPE, yep.
But still, you know, and it's just crazy. It's like they're targeting the wrong stuff.
It's very difficult for them.
Yeah, and the thing is, I haven't had my hair cut in a year. And I mean, I look like the Shaggy dog.
Shaggy Ann.
Yeah, but the other thing I wanted to mention was I was so glad you brought up how the media is reporting, Canada's vaccination rate is surpassing the U.S.
Out-vaccinating the United States.
In what universe? Are they on the Trudeau payroll or what? I mean, I laughed when I saw that. I'm like, when you look at something and you think to yourself, wait a minute, that can't possibly be true.
And I said this in my commentary this morning, my Snow and 60 commentary, they're hinging this whole claim we're out vaccinating the United States. They're hinging it on one statistic, okay, which is now the percentage of the population that's being vaccinated on a daily basis. So in Canada now, it's about 1% of the population is getting a dose, which is different for me than being vaccinated. Getting one dose is different from being vaccinated.
And we're not really vaccinated until we get two.
Right.
And the number of that is very, very piddly.
Well, yeah, in the United States, it's 38% has had 2 doses. Okay. Yeah. In Canada, it's about 4%. So tell me again how we're vaccinating the United States, because vaccinated means you've had 2 doses. So.
And a lot of those same women that you quoted would support Trudeau. They do not dig very deep, because I know a lot of women, and at my gym and everything like that, and all they do is the surface stuff. They don't look too deep. They don't think too deep, and it's almost like they don't want to know. So they see that in the newspaper, and they go, or, looking online at the news.
So I guess if you're you're a supporter, and I know it, of the Conservative Party, you have to ask yourself why the Conservative Party can't capitalize on that.
Well, yeah, he's doing a terrible job. I'm not impressed.
You would think there's an opening there.
I know.
And they have yet to find it.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's frustrating.
Right. Okay, thank you, Anne. Good to hear from you. Enjoy your long weekend.
You too. Bye.
This is the Rob Snow Show. We've reached halftime during the Friday Free-for-All Talkback Hour. I'd love to hear from you here on City News.
number one for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
This is Friday, the 21st of May. Good morning. I'm Jason White. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, a mostly cloudy sky, 27 degrees, feeling more like 30 with the humidity. Here's what's making news right now. Breaking news on the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, and Ontario will go ahead with second doses. The province had suspended use of the vaccine over concerns about very rare blood clots. But starting next week, people who got an AstraZeneca shot the week of March 10th can opt for an earlier second dose. The province is doing this as thousands of AstraZeneca doses are about to expire. Ontario's COVID-19 health leadership holding a news conference right now. Stay with City News for the latest on this developing story. Fewer than 2,000 new cases of COVID-19 in Ontario today. 27 more Ontarians have died. Of the 1,890 new cases in the province, 62 are in Ottawa. Renfrew County has 4. The Eastern Ontario Health Unit, 7. Leeds, Grenville and Lanark counties, 1 new case. Golf courses, tennis courts and marinas in Ontario reopen tomorrow. Splash pads will not, and that has Ottawa officials upset. The mayor asking the premier to reconsider. OPP hoping to prevent another tragic summer on the waterways. Last year, 32 people died on OPP-patrolled waterways, a 12-year record high. Falling overboard and capsized vessels are the leading causes of death on the water, so police say wear your life jacket. City News time 10:32. I'm Jason White. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Talk back.
Hello. On the Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
Yeah, so this is the language, our top stories about the AstraZeneca vaccine, as you just heard with Jason in our newscast. This is the language in the news release. From the Ford government. This is right from Christine Elliott's office. The Ontario government, in consultation with the Chief Medical Officer of Health and other public health experts, is proceeding with second dose administration of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, beginning with those who received their first dose of the vaccine between March 10th and March 19th of 2021 for a limited time only. Okay, it doesn't say that. I kind of added that. I'm kind of like Big Buds, you know? For a limited time. I love that. During the week of May 24th, individuals who received their first dose of AstraZeneca during the period March 10th to March 19th may opt for an earlier dose interval of 10 weeks with informed consent. Are you okay with this? Yes, I'm okay with this. Give me the shot. Choosing to receive the second dose of AstraZeneca at the 10-week interval is safe and provides strong protection against COVID-19. This opportunity is being made available to ensure every vaccine dose possible is used to protect Ontarians during the effective delivery period. Eligible individuals are encouraged to contact the pharmacy or primary care provider where they received their first dose and can book an appointment beginning the week of May 24th. This will begin in the regions where the AstraZeneca vaccine was initially launched in pharmacies in March 2021. Primary care settings and pharmacies may also be reaching out to eligible Ontarians. May be reaching out. So it sounds to me it's kind of vaccine Hunger Games again, right? It's going to be one of the. Is that the sense you take? Is that what you take away from that, Dave? Like,
sounds like we're right back.
It's going to be one of those days where if you've got somebody who can spend all day on the phone and all day on the website, you know, the days of I'm on 15 waiting lists again might come back.
Yeah, if you want a second dose, go out there and find it yourself. That's what that sounds like to me.
Ontario is working closely with health experts to continuously review the data for the use of AstraZeneca for first doses. And that's about all you need to know about that, I think. Okay. All right. So good news, but get ready for, again, calling a dozen pharmacies, getting on a dozen wait lists. And maybe they call you back and maybe they don't. But you can use AstraZeneca for a second dose. For a limited time. It says for a limited time. Okay, wide open Friday, free for all talkback hour. Right back to the phone. City News. Paul in the market. Paul.
Morning, Rob.
Hey, Paul. Good to hear from you again. It's been a while.
I know Dave will on the greens.
Yes, he will indeed.
Yeah. Listen, I just want to quickly talk about something that hasn't been mentioned quite a bit. It's the second year of the pilot project regarding the e-scooters.
Okay. What about them?
First of all, is this just a quick cash grab? And again, during the lockdown? I mean, they can't even enforce the rules.
Okay. How so? What rules are being
violated? First of all, they
violated?
can't even keep bicycles off the sidewalk.
Right. Okay.
So,
Do you see them on the sidewalk? Do you see them on the sidewalk?
Dr. husband, he can't even keep off the sidewalk, let alone off the sidewalk on a one-way street.
Okay.
So I just wanted to mention that real quickly because we're on the lockdown. They're instilling something that's going to make everybody go haywire. Yeah. I like them. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I don't know. I don't think we need something like that right now.
Okay. Do you see them on the sidewalk?
Well, not as many as last year so far.
Okay.
But I've seen a couple, and most of them are on the sidewalk.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right,
and
Paul.
It's dangerous.
It is dangerous. Sure. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Thank you, Paul. Okay. Yep. Good little rant there. Glad you feel better. Let's move along. Nepean, a wonderful place to be in. Michael.
Yeah, I have a thing about the crocodile tears being spouted by our politicians.
Okay.
We have Andrea Horbeck complaining about the long-term care, and last year, what's his name, the Liberal leader, said we can't look backwards, we got to look forward, and now he comes out and he's blaming Ford for all the problems.
Yeah, Del Duca.
The province doesn't have money. Are the politicians willing to take a 30% cut in pay to help pay for this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how much long-term care you'd even get with that kind of money. So,
yeah, but I'm just saying...
lead by example, though. Yeah.
Take the federal government and you cut 30% out of theirs. That's somewhere between $50 and $100 million a year. That because you figure, I don't know how much Trudeau makes, but let's say he makes $250,000. You take 30%, and then it's $150,000. How many people in Canada would love to have a salary of $150,000 a year?
Probably about 99% of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Why don't they cut their pay by 30%?
Lead by example, you're saying. Yeah.
They can help pay for all this stuff. And even going down into Jim Watson, the lady that was on about the hair place.
Yes.
He doesn't care because the city is going to go out and collect the money for the building. They don't care. So why don't show us lead the way and take a cut in pay so that maybe you can give a little bit of a cut or a little bit of a break to some building owners that have businesses that aren't working.
Share the pain. Share in the pain, you're saying.
Yeah, why not?
Right.
I'd love to have you ask your political panel, Mr. Fraser, and see if he's willing to take a cut in pay. And I don't know who you have coming on for the NDP.
I think it's all the usual suspects today.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, ask them if they're willing to take a 30% cut in pay to help the province deal with long-term care.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Have a good one.
You too, sir. 750-1310, Friday, free for all talkback hour. This is the Rob Snow Show. Khalid in Canada. Good morning. You're on City News.
Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Oh, hanging in there, buddy. Yep. Sunshine lollipops.
Rob, I just want to know a couple things, okay?
All right.
I want to know who the people are at Queen's Park who are making up the list of what's going to be open. Like, for instance, tomorrow, golf is going to be allowed, basketball, tennis.
Yep.
Right? So, but I can't take my kids to the splash pad.
That's right.
Tell me in what universe that makes any sense. I can go pick up a game with my friends, but I can't take my kids to splash pad.
Yeah.
Right?
Doesn't make any sense to me, but...
No. And the fact that I think I heard on the City News report today, they're not allowing patios to open until July.
Right.
I mean, they're trying to kill everything. They're trying to kill these businesses, man. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. You're opposed to the splash pads, and you think they're going too slow with some of the reopening. You're saying, right?
Well, it's not even that. It's more of a health and safety thing. Like, I'm blessed to have central air in my house. So a lot of people are not, and they have kids who live in. I mean, it's supposed to be 35 with the humidex today. That's very hot, right?
It sure
and
is.
The splash pads are some of the places where these people take their kids.
Yeah.
To get some relief, right?
Absolutely,
so
sir. You're bang on. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
What they're doing is the government is making things about health and safety, and it's really turning to things about making it about control. Because people, I was all for the lockdowns and everything. Now it's turning into like it's all for control because it doesn't make sense. I can pick up basketball, but I can't take my kids with flash pad. It just doesn't make any sense.
All right, gotcha, Khalid. Thank you. Great point, sir. Great point. I think a lot of people feel exactly the same way on that splash pad issue. I have no answer for you. I think it's stupid. I have no answer for you on that one. Irene in Ottawa. Good morning.
Hi, Rob. I was watching the news or listening to the news conference yesterday with for Premier Ford, and one thing that stood out for me. Correct me if I'm wrong. This step one, it says June 14th, the week of June 14th, but it said a percentage of what? 60 or 70% people had to be vaccinated, but 2 weeks after that?
Yeah, he said because it takes 2 weeks. This was
okay, so why don't they, for it to take effect, or the vaccine to take effect, so why don't they just say June 30th?
Why not? Yeah, I suppose.
Right?
Sure.
And I also noticed too. I found it very frustrating. I was very disappointed in his presentation. He came across as Justin Trudeau too, right?
Okay. How so?
He kept, they kept asking him, well, when are people getting the second dose? And he wouldn't answer. And all he kept saying is praising how wonderful a job people are doing giving out the vaccine.
Well, if you wouldn't answer, he obviously doesn't know the answer then, right?
Well, he's the premier, isn't he?
Yeah, he sure is, yeah.
And I could see why General Hillier jumped the ship a couple of months ago, right?
Yes.
Because what a circus, man. No, I'm very upset with this. And also about the hair salon in not opening till, mid-July?
That's what she said.
And then, of course, we have to wait 2 weeks after that for the vaccine. So that's the end of July. I keep looking at the people on CTV National News. Geez, doesn't look like 2 months since she had a haircut. Like those on TV, their hair, 6 weeks.
Are you alleging that the people on television are well coiffed? Is that what you're saying, Irene? That there might be something going on there?
Well, just have a look at them. Look at that CTV National News. The hair is just,
They have great hair over there, yes.
Yeah, they do. And so does Doug Ford. And so does Christine Elliott. Right?
Okay.
You mean they haven't had a haircut since April 1st?
I don't know. Okay, well, they're all in Toronto. How do you explain John Tory then? I mean...
Well, John Tory's obviously following the rules because his daughter's a doctor.
Okay.
Isn't she?
I don't know if John Tory's daughter is a doctor.
I believe she is.
Okay.
I've heard that before. And then you look at the guy, Global Toronto, his hair is growing long. So I don't know. I was just very disappointed with Doug Ford.
All right.
Because the news conference he had yesterday, there wasn't any news. There wasn't.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Irene, I got you. Okay, thank you. She's disappointed with Doug Ford and suspects he may be getting haircuts. Wasn't it the last time his daughter cut his hair?
Yeah, he said they did it with the dog clippers when he was like 2 weeks ago now. That was a news story at the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it kind of looked like it was
not a good haircut.
An in-house job.
Doesn't look
like an in-house job.
Doesn't look like Tanya cut his hair.
Stephen in Ottawa. Steve.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Oh, hanging in there, buddy. On splash pads. You want to talk about splash pads?
Yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of people talking about why can't we have the splash pads open? We got basketball courts, tennis courts. Well, with my understanding, we still have to wear masks when we cannot social distance outside, but clearly you cannot wear a mask in a splash pad. It's just not possible. It's going to get wet, and it's not going to work. So I think we need to really think about this a little more clearly than just getting, irrational of why we can't do things. Trust me, I'm the same way as everybody else. I have 3 kids. It sucks staying at home and doing nothing, looking at TV. Netflix is very boring.
Mm-hmm.
But end of the day, I think these measures are put in place for valid reasons. And, Ford may not be doing the best job, but he's doing the best job he can with the circumstances at hand. And I think we just have to be patient and wait for these vaccines to get in, and hope they'll rock and roll faster than we want them to. And it should.
Gotcha, Steve. Thank you. Yeah, bye-bye. So there's give Ford a break. Give Ford a break. 10:45, Rob Snow Show, Talk Back Hour on City News.
It started out with a small outdoor booth in what was called Artist Alley, which is actually the area just outside our store on William Street, where for a couple of years we sold our jewelry directly on the street. And then we slowly evolved to having an indoor location in this building, 55 Barwood Market Square. We then moved to another location in Place de Ville, and then moved back down here on Dalhousie Street at Eargear in the 90s, and then back into this building again in 2000 as a collection. I do a collection of jewelry called Cirque that's mainly beaded work with a combination of semi-precious and vintage beads. And then she does a hat collection called Fanfreluche that's all cut and sewn hats in a variety of fabrics and for all of the seasons of the year. We've curated and sourced the artisans that we represent in a lot of different ways over the years since it's been, since 1985. Some people come to us since we're known, and other artisans that we represent might recommend that they come and see us. Some people we find at craft shows, or we see their work, somebody wears it in, and we go and track it down and bring it. And then some people, interestingly, are with us in one medium, and then sometimes they evolve to another. They're all Canadian and mainly local. With the roughly 50 people that we have, I'd say more than half of those are Ottawa-Gatineau, and then the rest are from other cities in Canada, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, etc. If you can afford it, go to a small business and spend some money. It's lovely when you come in and, give me a pep talk and tell me how much you love this place and you've been coming here for years. But if you can afford it, please spend some money too, because all the pep talks in the world are not going to pay my rent, which is still full rent even when we're closed. Then secondly, if you can't afford to spend money, follow the businesses that you want to support on social media. Go to their Instagram, go to their Facebook, follow their Twitter, and then retweet, share their Facebook page, like and comment. Because if you can't afford to, as many of us can't right now, to do extra expenditures, doing all of those little things like that will raise the visibility of those small businesses, and hopefully for them result in some online or curbside or other business for them.
It's time to talk back
on the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
If you were watching the hockey game last night, I'm sure you saw the hit that John Tavares took. Accidental from Corey Perry, just gruesome to watch, really difficult to see. But the Leafs, the Toronto Maple Leafs, have just announced, just released a statement. John Tavares has been discharged from the hospital, which is good news, of course. Quote, he was thoroughly examined and assessed by the neurological team at St. Mike's Hospital and the club's medical director. He was kept overnight for observation and is now resting at home under the care and supervision of team physicians. Tavares will be out indefinitely. So that's a big loss for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Game 2 tomorrow night, Hockey Night in Canada. And the Habs leading that series 1-0. We'll talk about all things hockey with Steve Warne in less than a half an hour from now, host of the Sens Nation podcast and the Steve Warne Project. He'll be all over that one. Rob in Canada, you're on City News. Go ahead, Rob.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Good, sir. Thank you for calling.
First-time caller.
Appreciate it, sir.
Just wanted to share that I'm a first-time caller. Used to listen to Lowell, but glad to hear you on the alternate station. I'm a frontline worker, and I just wanted to share that we need to open things up. I think Ford is moving too far too slowly. My heart goes out to that owner of the hair salon at Carlingwood. It's sad. I think we need to go back to the original zoning of green, this and that. I think Ford's just not doing a good job at this point.
All right. Move a little faster. Yeah. All right. Got you, Rob. Thank you for the kind words, sir. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. Thank you. What did she say? I think she said they've been open for like 20 days the whole year, something like that.
6 weeks, she said, yeah.
6 weeks the whole year. Wow. 5 months, almost 6 months into the year. It's almost June, really. Up next at 750-1310 is Kevin in Ottawa. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning. Very happy about the Tavares news.
Yes. Excellent news. I do not like the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'll tell you that. But I don't want to see anybody get hurt the way he went down yesterday. Very scary stuff. So
I'd like to see Spezza get a cup.
I like Spezza. I do. I mean, who's on that Toronto Maple Leafs team? I like Foligno, right? He used to play for the Senators, and I like Spezza, too. I like Spezza, but I still can't cheer for the Leafs.
Okay, so my next thing is, what's going to happen? Are we going to be the Gatineau Senators?
Well, what do you think, Kevin? Do you think Melnick's serious that he would move that arena to Gatineau? Or do you think he's just kind of... Because, he has a reputation. He just wants to kind of poke us every now and then, I think,
Well, if the car dealership in Montreal and Saint Laurent can get $3.9 million, how much is Melnick going to jack up the city for?
Yeah. Well, this is his frustration, is that he has tried to squeeze some money out of the city, tax breaks and whatever, but he can't get a dime out of anybody at City Hall. So
we don't have a lot of sports fans on the city council, that's for sure.
Well, you should read Bruce Garriock's column today, sir.
I read him regularly.
Yeah, read his column today. He goes all through it about Melnick's frustration with City Hall and how he's hoping, the municipal election is next year, and probably nobody's wishing for more change at City Hall than Eugene Melnick. So,
but I'm telling you, Melnick does more for the city than a car dealership does, and they're getting... millions of dollars or potentially millions of dollars.
Well, I suppose you could make that case. There's no program that Mr. Melnick can apply for, though. That's the difference, right? And it's always, imagine the city gave money to help out Eugene Melnick. Okay, so you're not helping a Porsche dealership. You're helping a billionaire who could buy a dozen Porsches, I guess. Who owns a hockey team where he pays millionaires who could drive Porsches. So
it's all on scale, but at the end of the day, you're giving it to them, but not to them. I would say no to the Porsche money.
Say no to the Porsche money. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the call. Spencerville, Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Rob. How's it going?
Good, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm just really frustrated with all this, and I mean, it's not a perfect situation, but blaming Doug Ford for all this stuff is kind of hard to hear, because I think what he's really trying to say, and the message that I think he's trying to push out of this is, as soon as we get vaccines, which is a Justin Trudeau problem, we get them into people's arms. It's not like we have a whole bunch of stock here on Ontario that we're holding off on putting there. So, his schedule is really dependent on that supply coming in. And it just drives me batty to hear people say that it's his fault that we're in this situation and stuff like that. So I just, want to put that out there for the weekend, because I'm just irritated with all the comments I've been hearing.
Okay. And you have, sir. How are things in Spencerville?
Doing well.
I quite like Spencerville.
Yeah, me too. We used to live in Ottawa, and moved out of here to get rid of the big city approach, and we love it out here.
Yeah, I looked at a house in Spencerville, but I was thinking, if I buy this house, the hydro bill's going to kill me.
Yeah, it's not so bad.
Not so bad. Okay.
That's what I did.
All right, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah. Have you been to Spencerville, David?
No.
Yeah, it's not a nice little town.
Is it a good spot?
Yeah, it's a nice little
Have
town.
any mobile homes out there I could buy?
You couldn't afford them, buddy. $180,000 for a mobile home in Ottawa now. $180,000 for a mobile home in Ottawa.
I'm saving my change.
Holy smokes, man. Paul in Perth.
Hi, how are you today?
Speaking of beautiful spots, I'm good, sir. What's on your mind?
Just wondering how the government's going to figure if we're going to have any confidence in their medical advice. And the same doctors that talked everybody into rushing in, you take this AstraZeneca, even though there's a risk of 1 in, I think it was 60,000, it could have blood clots.
Yep.
And now they can't make a decision to give a second shot to people when the odds have went to 1 in a million.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, let's follow this bouncing ball here. Take it. Take the first one you can get. Take it as soon as it's available. Wait, don't take that one. In fact, you're not even allowed to take that one anymore, right?
Yeah. If I get a choice between 2 lottery tickets, and the odds are 1 in 60,000 or 1 in a million, I'm going to buy the 1 in 60,000.
Sure. Okay, we've given it some thought. So if you've already had 1 dose, why don't you come back and get the second dose of the same vaccine that we won't give out for the first dose? Yeah, and no wonder people are confused. Thanks. I got you, Paul. Loud and clear on that one. Believe you me. Last call. Lanark. Grant.
How you doing?
You're calling from Lanark to talk about urban coyotes. Is this a problem in Lanark?
It was taken out there last year by the Ottawa Police Service.
Yes.
That cop, okay? Did they ever go after him for doing that? That's Carol-Ann Meehan's ward, right?
Yes.
Kicked over that whole ward?
Yes.
And, okay, what's the environment the coyotes got anymore? It was a coyote dog, wasn't it, type thing? It was a female. It was just taking care of its young. So it's feeding off garbage cans. That's where it's getting its food. It's not getting squirrels and rabbits like it usually would in the bush.
Right.
But that stupid cop had to go kill the goddamn coyote. They could have put a trap out there, a live trap, took it, dumped it off in Lanark someplace, no more problems.
I suppose.
They had to go squeeze a shot off, and that guy's still making $120,000, $140,000 a year.
Right,
whatever.
but maybe he's just doing what he's told, sir. Go get the coyote.
Yeah, but
right?
who told him to do that? The staff sergeant and lieutenant, right? So he should be reprimanded too. The Ministry of Natural Resources should go after him for animal cruelty.
All right, Grant. Thank you. Okay, that's it. Talkback hour. What a fun week it was, actually. Lots of great calls this week. I quite enjoyed it. We'll do it again on Tuesday. Coming up next, Bill C-10. The latest you need to know and why you should be worried. This is City News.
This is City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 1011 FM and 1310 AM.
This is Friday, the 21st of May. Good morning. I'm Jason White. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, a mostly cloudy sky, 27 degrees. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. Breaking news on the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. Ontarians who receive the first dose of the vaccine will be able to get their second dose if they want it. Thousands of AstraZeneca shots are sitting in storage with an expiration date around the corner. Our Momin Qureshi joins us with the latest guidance from Ontario's top doctor.
Basically, what you need to know is if you got the first dose of AstraZeneca, if you're one of the hundreds of thousands of people that chose to get that vaccine, or that's what came your way, then you will be eligible to get that vaccine as your second dose. Dr. Williams saying that they've got the data back now, which shows that blood clots that were being caused when you take a second dose is 1 in 600,000, deeming it safe. So he's saying the people that got the shot in early March, in the first couple of weeks of March, will be up first. They can go get their second doses by the end of this month, and then they'll move forward from there. There are a lot of dates and times mixed into this that we'll try to clarify in the coming hours about when you got your shot and when you'd be eligible for your second shot and the time that needs to lapse, whether it's 8 weeks or plus. But basically the news here is that the province will go forward using the AstraZeneca vaccine to give people their second doses who got that as their first one. I'm Momin Qureshi.
City News Time 11:02. Ontario reporting fewer than 2,000 new cases of COVID-19 today. 27 more Ontarians have died. Of the 1,890 new cases in the province, 62 are in Ottawa. Renfrew County has 4 new cases. The Eastern Ontario Health Unit, 7. Leeds, Grenville and Lanark counties added 1 new case. Ontario's outdoor amenities allowed to reopen tomorrow do not include splash pads, much to the irritation of some local residents and politicians. The province says it will not allow water activities to open until step 1 of its 3-step roadmap to safely reopening the province, and that's not expected to happen for a few more weeks. Many Ottawa city councillors took to social media to express their disapproval, and Mayor Jim Watson has asked the Premier to reconsider the decision around splash pads. One more workday till the long weekend and one more sleep until golfers can tee off. Outdoor amenities reopening tomorrow do include golf courses, tennis courts, sports fields, and marinas. But the rest of the pandemic reopening plan doesn't roll out for a few weeks, so dining on a patio likely won't happen for a few weeks. Shaggy haircuts probably a thing until mid-July or later. The ban on flights coming into Canada from India and Pakistan is being extended. A government source confirming to City News a notice is being issued to flight staff at airlines across the country, advising them that the ban on passenger flights from India and Pakistan will last until at least the 21st of June. The ban was put in place in April, was set to expire tomorrow. The official announcement is expected to be made by the Transport Minister at today's COVID-19 briefing from federal officials. Let's get the latest now on your long weekend outlook, and here's meteorologist Jill Taylor.
We'll have varying amounts of sun, cloud, just a slight chance of showers. The main story, though, hot and humid for us today. The high 32 degrees will feel more like 35 to about 37. Possibility of some wet weather at times. Not a complete washout, though, Saturday and Sunday. Still quite warm for Saturday, a gusty wind. Will start to cool down Sunday. Noticeably cooler, though, Victoria Day Monday. For today, the high 32.
Mostly cloudy right now, 25 in Smiths Falls, 27 in Ottawa. Humidity making it feel more like 30. I'm Jason White. For News Anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
He's the opinionated Ottawa icon.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Bill C-10, we've been following it closely. One of the new developments is this memo. The media has its hands on it, a government memo written by the Deputy Minister of Heritage. And it discusses Bill C-10. This is how Michael Geist, the University of Ottawa professor of Internet Law and Canada Research Chair, describes it on his blog, michaelgeist.ca. The memo focuses on, quote, departmental warnings about the importance of excluding user-generated content from the scope of regulation of Bill C-10 and the necessity of sections 2.1 and 4.1. 4.1 was removed by the government. You remember this. We've been hammering away on this for a good 2 weeks now. It goes on. Quote, social media services like YouTube and Facebook greatly expand the number of individuals and other entities that can be said to be transmitting programs over the internet. This provides an important limitation on the application of the Act. 4.1 does. Okay? By ensuring that under the Act, the CRTC cannot regulate the audio or video communications of individuals or other entities simply because they use a social media service. So this is from the Deputy Minister of Heritage saying this is why 4.1 is important. The government, Michael Gilles says, obviously ignored the warning and removed the limitation, end quote. So that is a very interesting development, isn't it? We're joined this morning by Philip Palmer. He's a lawyer, consultant in Ottawa, was formerly a senior general counsel with the Department of Justice. He was engaged in the drafting and the adoption of the Broadcasting, Telecommunications, and Radio Communications Acts, as well as Canada's anti-spam legislation. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
It's very nice to hear from you.
Well, it's good to speak with you.
How do you feel about Bill C-10 and how it's working its way through our Parliament right now, sir?
Well, I'd have to tell you that I believe that C-10 is a travesty from conception to realization. It's fundamentally flawed, and I think that even before we get into some of the details, I should add that C-10, in my view, is unconstitutional, that Parliament doesn't have the authority to enact it. And I have made a submission to the Heritage Committee to that effect. Nobody seems to have picked up on that, but it's, to my mind, a serious law, and that this is not broadcasting. It's not within the powers of the federal government to introduce this legislation. And if it's adopted, I believe it will be struck down ultimately by the courts as being unconstitutional.
Unconstitutional because of freedom of expression, belief, opinion, all of those things?
It's more fundamental than that.
Okay,
it goes back to the division of powers between the federal and provincial governments.
Oh, really? Okay.
And the essential, I don't want to get into a whole lot of constitutional law here, but the basic thrust is that the provinces are sovereign within their domains, the federal government sovereign within its. And there's a division between the two.
Yes.
The federal government has control over broadcasting by radio waves and cable television by virtue of the fact that radio waves serve to connect one province with another and a Canadian province with foreign countries.
Okay.
That's all well and good.
Yes.
In those cases, the cable undertakings and the broadcasters control the facilities that transmit those signals to the public. If you back up and look at how the internet operates, you'll see that Netflix, for instance, does not transmit to the public. It's Bell Canada or TELUS or Rogers or any of the other carriers.
Service provider, right?
Yeah. Service providers, the telecommunications common carriers who actually deliver the signals to the public.
Okay.
So it's those interprovincial carriers who are the people who can be regulated by the CRTC, by the federal government, but not the clients. And the clients are, one, individuals like us, and secondly, people like Netflix, BritBox, name them.
Name your platform, right? Yeah.
So anyway, that's just a preliminary remark to say that I think that the whole idea of this is misguided and inconsistent with the constitutional principles in Canada.
Okay, what have you thought then of the Heritage Minister's defense of the legislation? That it is needed to protect and promote Canadian culture, for example.
There are 1,000 ways to protect Canadian culture. Regulating Netflix or Hulu or Disney does nothing to do that. Regulating, I have a few examples of things that I think are caught by this legislation.
By all means.
Weather and traffic cameras. What about those? Video games. Podcasts. Cooking sites. University lectures that are open to the public. Or how about this? A religious service carried by Zoom because the churches are closed. These, I think, are all caught as broadcasting under this overbroad definition. So I think it'll be a horrendous job for the CRTC to try to pick apart and isolate what it is that they're going to regulate in the end. And for the rest of us, it creates enormous uncertainties.
In fact, I think it goes to the heart of this government memo from the deputy minister, where all of these services are listed: Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Apple TV,
yes,
Facebook Watch, original content on Snapchat, YouTube Originals. I mean, it's a long list. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Google Play Music, YouTube, Stitcher, Sony PlayStation, workout apps, like somebody's working out, pornography, for crying out loud, Canadian content for pornography. I would like to know the I don't know. I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to go there. We are still policed by the CRTC, so let's move right along. But nevertheless, but for example, I don't know how the CRTC, this memo suggests possibly regulating the BBC website or a Canadian subscriber and what they would see on as a subscriber to the New York Times. I don't even know how you would do that.
Well, yeah, and for instance, I subscribe to both the National Post and the Globe and Mail, and both of them have embedded audio and video. In fact, it's quite a nuisance the way some of them present it.
Yes.
Those newspapers become broadcasters because if you count the number of pixels, they're predominantly audio-visual content. Does anybody think that this is reasonable or sane? No. I think it's crazy.
Okay, sir. We'll be watching it closely. I thank you so much for your time this morning.
No, thank you.
Yeah. We may call you again, I think, because it's getting closer to reality, as I'm sure you know.
Well, it's frighteningly close to reality, yes.
Yeah.
Frighteningly close.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Palmer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Philip Palmer, lawyer, consultant here in Ottawa, formerly a senior general counsel with the Department of Justice. And he calls it a travesty, an unconstitutional travesty. Thank goodness for people like him. And Steve Warne. We're going to talk sports with him next here on the Rob Snow Show on City News.
An old-fashioned traditional grocery store. You're going to find a butcher, okay? You want a steak cut a certain way, you're going to get it. You know, there's flour piled in the warehouse. There's mixers on the floor. There's flour on the floor. The bakery is rented out to Frank Nicolo. It's him and his son come in at night. They mix the dough, they roll the dough, and they bake the dough. It's not the traditional frozen and thaw and put it in the bin, okay? It's made from scratch 7 days a week. It's probably the only bakery left in Ottawa that does that. You know, then customer service. You know, we're big on that. The cashiers, the deli. You're not, if you ask for something, they're not going to point, it's an aisle number 7. They're going to bring you there, okay? If you have too much groceries out, we'll take it out to your car. You know what I mean? There's nothing we don't do for our customers, And we evolved around our customers. They would come in and say, can you try getting me this? Can you get me this? So that's how we built the lineup we have now, okay? So we have a lot of unique items that someone that came over to, live in Canada hasn't seen this particular product, but we sourced it and we have it for them that, like something they used to have as a kid. We have a lot of those unique items, a lot, from like all over the world. And we source it through, distributors in Montreal and Toronto that bring in the product in bulk, and we piggyback off of them. Probably the largest European deli in Ottawa. We sell lots because people buy lots. It's nothing really complicated about that. We turn over a lot of product. We package it properly. We buy, and we're always consistent. You're always going to buy, Cuddy turkey breast, Saint Daniel mortadella. You're always going to get the same brands. We don't flip back and forth to save 20 cents. It's always the same brands the last 29 years. Best sandwiches in town. It's simple. It starts off with fresh bread every day baked in the store. Anything that's left over goes to breadcrumbs. So you're getting a fresh bun every day that was baked probably 4 hours before you get here, okay? Not only baked, made, like, mix the flour, roll the dough, proof the bread, and bake the bread, okay? Then all the ingredients come right off the shelves. Your lettuce, your tomatoes, all your condiments, and they're cut up fresh in the deli. Not like the big, corporate restaurant chains that your lettuce comes in shredded in a bag, you open it up and you throw it in the bin. Takes, 2 or 3 days to get here from California. How long is it in the bag? The big difference is like making a sandwich at home and you don't have to do the work. It's really what the trick is, and using the freshest ingredients possible.
Strong voice.
Strong opinions.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
In sports, so much to talk about. Steve Warne is back. Steve Warne Project and the Sens Nation podcast. Good morning.
Good morning, Rob.
What do you think of the comments from Eugene Melnyk? Do you think we'll be cheering for the Gatineau Senators?
I do not.
Yeah, neither do I.
He obviously needs a new rink. Says he wants it in the next 7 years. But I honestly think that's a bit of saber rattling, shot across the bow at City Hall. It's really no secret that Melnyk has not been happy with any negotiations on anything that he's had with the city of Ottawa. He and the mayor aren't exactly BFFs, as you know, Rob.
Yeah.
And I think that he's by his own admission, he's comfortable in Canada. He's got land there. Even says he's 80% sure he's staying in Canada. So kind of speaking on both sides of this issue. And I really don't think that Gatineau, I honestly think it's a non-starter and just a negotiation ploy.
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. I totally agree. I think he's just kind of poking. He's poking us. He does that. It's funny because Wayne Scanlon was on the program last week, and one of the things I said to him was, gosh, it's been so calm since Eugene Melnyk shut up. And I guess I spoke too soon. So,
well, and then you had that, that whole yacht thing.
Yes.
That happened 48 hours after what was a season. We were all saying, wow, it's been nice and quiet. The team's on a roll.
Yeah.
And then it just almost like clockwork, whammo, we get that bit of news. And then we're getting, discussion about, as Melnyk makes his annual State of the Team address on a Toronto podcast, of all places, as is custom. We get that news that, the possibility of him maybe building in Gatineau. It's unfortunate that because I think honestly the world is a good place right now for Sens fans, and the less they hear from the owner, the better they like it.
I do wonder how the Ottawa sports media feels about that. The fact that he does go to Toronto and he does these chats with Bob McCowan, the big sports guy in Toronto. And gosh, it's got to be annoying,
Yeah, I think there's no question about that, but the entire sports media understands what's going on here. Melnyk is not a fan of the Ottawa media. I think he's made that quite clear. In fact, he said as much in the Bob McCowan interview. He said the press is always slamming me in discussion about the whole Melnyk out campaign. He volunteered that about his relationship with the press, and so I think there's a distrust there. Like there's, Ian Mendez from The Athletic. I mean, that's one of the nicest guys in our business.
Oh, solid guy, yeah.
Yeah, and Melnyk took a pretty pointed crack at him, I don't know, about a year and a half ago.
That's right.
And if you have an issue with Ian Mendez, I don't know, that's hard to get your head around.
Yeah. It wasn't I think it was Brent Wallace, who was with TSN and now does the Wally and Mathot show. I think he wasn't allowed on the team plane, didn't it? Wasn't he banned from the team plane or something like that? Or one of them was banned from the team plane or something.
My understanding that there was some Ottawa Citizen writers who were banned as well. And, there's... You cross Eugene Melnyk, it's not something that goes unnoticed.
It's his plane.
Let's put it that way.
It's his plane, and you're not getting on it. I would like to thank Bruce Garriock, your friend and mine, for the mention of the Rob Snow Show and his column in the Ottawa Citizen today, by the way. Love the cross-pollination. It's good stuff, good stuff. And Bruce was writing, actually, about the sparring and how Eugene Melnyk would love to see something at a city hall, like change. But anyway, let's move along. Do we have the highlight of the... we actually have some highlights from the game last night. Steve, first time in 42 years. It is the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. Game 1, it's a 2-1. I believe this is the game-winning goal, the 2-1 victory for the Montreal Canadiens. Roll tape, David.
A minute left in this third Leaf power play, and it's Matthews in. Drops through Thornton, checked on the play, and turned back by Armia with speed. Paul Byron gets there, scored! What a brilliant goal by Paul Byron, shorthanded.
So we're going to talk about Tavares in a minute, but a prettier goal you won't see for a game winner, Steve. What did you think overall of the hockey match?
Well, let's address that goal first of all, Rob. I mean, I just felt so good for Paul Byron. There's an Ottawa native. Got to know him a little bit from his days with the Gatineau Olympics, and that's a guy that was placed on waivers by Montreal 3 times this year.
Wow.
He's been on and off the taxi squad all year, and then to get a goal like that, he's basically on his knees. They're about to call a penalty as he's being taken down. He's kind of on a pseudo breakaway. He's on his knees, and he just chips that up over Jack Campbell's shoulder to win game 1. Man, I bet that felt good. And if you're looking at the game itself, I honestly think, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this in a moment, I think the Leafs were in kind of a state of shock after what happened to their captain in the neutral zone in that first period. And, I don't want to say Montreal takes advantage of it, but they played well, and I think the Leafs didn't, they were just knocked off their game last night. So that's my theory on the game, but we'll see in game 2.
All right. Okay. Interesting take. Tavares has been released from the hospital, according to a statement from the Maple Leafs released about half an hour ago now. So that's good news. But he's out indefinitely. No question. I mean, it's just... having seen it and watched the highlight over and over again, I mean, it's nothing intentional. It's just a fluke of the game. But nevertheless, Perry ends up having to fight Foligno. What did you think about that whole thing about it?
Well, it's a reminder, Rob, that the hockey code, if such a thing exists, and I think it does in an intangible way, it's a reminder that the hockey code has some very goofy elements about it. Foligno, he's basically saying, I don't blame you in any way for this. I'm not remotely angry with you. I know it was an accident, but I still need to fight you.
Yeah.
I just don't see how that makes a great deal of sense. I think I've only heard from a few people who thought that, some real old schoolers are talking about that. It doesn't matter. You have to get out there and take care of business. Foligno's take on it was he knew it was not an issue in terms of blame or that it's anything but an accident. He just wanted to, quote unquote, take away the gray area, which allows everybody to go back and play.
Yeah.
To me, it seemed like a bizarre reason to go out and fight another player. Sometimes we have this argument when there's a big hit, Rob, in a game, and it's a clean hit, and yet there's a fight afterward. I can even get my head around that a little bit because the players in question, they don't really have the instant replay like you and I do watching the game on TV. They don't know that their buddy hasn't just been gooned, and so they play it safe and get even. This one, Foligno knew full well that this was not Corey Perry's fault. So I found it odd. It's a goofy part of the hockey code, and I'd hate to see many fights like that. It's one of the dumbest fights I've ever seen.
Yeah, Carey Price looked good. If he plays like that again, boy, you never... Could be anybody's series, I guess. But let's face it, Steve, a lot of people going into this playoff. I'd love to know who would have had the Habs up 1-0 and the Jets up 1-0 over the Oilers. Not too many people. Not too many people. Not me, anyway. Not me. So
well, let's you mentioned Carey Price, and let's look at goaltending, because you've got the reigning Vezina champion in the Winnipeg net, as well as the Jets were outshot in that game, and they found a way to shut down the big two for the Oilers, and so that bodes well for them. And that's what it comes down to. I mean, the game is so different. It's so tight. Nobody takes a shift off. Nobody takes a puck battle off, and you have to earn everything you get. And if there's a great goalie there waiting to take away any limited chances you can come up with in the Stanley Cup playoffs, that makes it all the tougher. So with the Jets and the Habs having the goaltending they do, that gives them a big leg up on other clubs. But I do think again, the Leafs, I think we're in kind of a state of shock. I have no idea. Stanley Cup playoffs, anything can happen, but I think in Game 2 they're going to transfer the emotion from shock to maybe, let's go out and win one for our captain.
Okay, so PGA Championship is this weekend, right? It's on now?
Certainly is, yeah.
That's a major, right, Steve? That's a major.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the big ones, right? Is that the Wanamaker? Is that what it's called? The Wanamaker?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And a Canadian was leading after the first round. Corey Connors, looking good. Who do you like? PGA Championship.
Well, I mean, Corey Connors had a fantastic first round, but man, is he leaking oil today?
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's +4 through 12 holes today. It's great to see it, though. I mean, he was, you could see it a round like that coming for Connors. He was tied for 8th at the Masters, 7th at the Players' Championship, the 5th major. So he's not out of this. He hasn't shot his way out of the tournament in just 12 holes. But, it has not been a very good start for him. When I see Brooks Koepka lurking at the top of the leaderboard, he's not going off for about 3 more hours, firing it up at -3 today. And your defending champion, Colin Morikawa, those would be 2 guys to look at it, if you're maybe putting down a couple of loonies on the outcome of this thing. Those would be 2 guys I'd be looking at right now.
Okay. I see Padraig Harrington is on the leaderboard. Holy cow, there's a blast from the past. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny how these older guys every once in a while pop up and make stuff happen. They just find their way into the zone. I remember that, like Tom Watson. He's 60 years old at the British Open and damn near won the thing.
That's right.
That's right. That's the nature of golf, right? It's not so much about speed and strength or anything like that. And on any given weekend, somebody can come up and just find their zone and make some special things happen. Maybe that happens for Harrington this weekend.
Okay. It's going to be a great weekend for sports, Steve. Enjoy it. Thank you so much for this week.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep. Bye-bye. From the Steve Warne Project and the Sens Nation Project, that's Steve Warne. Queen's Park, week in review with our MPPs, with the reopening plan out there now. We'll talk about it after the news on City News.
one for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, the 21st of May. Good morning. I'm Sarah Buck, and right now in Ottawa, we've got 27 degrees under partly sunny skies and a humidex of 30. Smiths Falls, 26 under partly sunny skies, a humidex of 29. Special weather statement for continued warm conditions throughout the region. So make sure you stay cool today. Here's what's making news this hour. Ontario is resuming use of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine against COVID-19, but only as a second dose, saying health risks posed by the shot are low. Dr. David Williams, the province's chief medical officer of health, says those who received the first dose of AstraZeneca between March 10th and March 19th would be the first in line to receive their second dose. Starting next week, those people could opt to receive a second dose at an earlier 10-week interval in order to use up the 55,000 doses currently in refrigerators and pharmacies and family doctors' offices, some of which will expire at the end of this month. The province said it's encouraging people who are eligible to reach out to their pharmacy or primary care provider where they first received their first dose to book an appointment for a second shot. Provincial health officials reporting 62 new cases of COVID-19 in Ottawa today. Out of 1,890 new cases across the province, there were 27 new deaths recorded in Ontario due to the virus. Elsewhere locally, Leeds Grenville Lanark Health Unit confirms 4 new cases. The province is reporting 4 new cases in Renfrew and 7 in Eastern Ontario. And local health units update their numbers in the afternoon. And amenities set to open tomorrow across the provinces. That's golf courses and mini putt and tennis courts, basketball courts, marinas and sports fields, but not splash pads in Ottawa. And several city councillors were expressing their disappointment. I'm Sarah Buchan for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The world is changing.
So keep up with Rob.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
All right, the gang's all here. Let's jump right into it. It's time for Queen's Park Week in Review. Gilles Bisson is a new Democrat MPP. His riding is Timmins. Good morning, Gilles.
Good morning.
How's the weather?
Oh, it's beautiful out. 26 degrees.
26. Okay. Yeah. We have a heat advisory in Ottawa, so that's why I'm asking.
No splash pads, though.
How's the AC? John Fraser, Ottawa South.
Ottawa, I'm just fine and dandy. Yes, I am in my house, and it is air conditioned.
That's good.
It's pretty darn hot in Ottawa.
Well, and you're not allowed to go to the splash pad, John. So.
Yeah, don't get me started. It's too early. Let's wait till later on the show.
David, that's John Fraser, Liberal MPP, Ottawa South health critic for the Liberals. David Piccini, Progressive Conservative MPP, Northumberland-Peterborough South. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
Port Hope today?
Yes, sir. In my constituency office in Port Hope.
Humid, hot, sticky,
humid.
Port Hope?
Holy smokes, it's very humid. I came home, my plants and grass need watering. It's quite something.
Okay. Gilles, just before we start on the lock, I have to ask you, I'm curious, because what's the price of gas in Timmins today? Do you have any idea?
$1.37.
Ooh. $1.37. Keep it there, buddy. Keep it there. My gosh.
What is it in your end?
$1.30, about $1.30. What are you paying in Port Hope, David? Any idea?
No, I think this, as of this morning, I'd filled up before I left. It was $1.30 something in Toronto before I left Queen's Park yesterday, but I think here it's $1.20 something.
$1.20 something. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've seen $1.20 something. So, okay. All right, let's get into it.
I got it for $122 in David's riding yesterday.
Yeah, it's $122, John, at the
You guys
Screaming deal. Screaming deal.
Regulation.
Screaming deal. Isn't that interesting? Okay.
We knew it was going there.
Exactly.
All right, so Randall Denley in the National Post says your government's moving way too slow. And in the Toronto Star, Bruce Arthur, who hates your government, David, says, good on you for finally following the science. Better late than never. So you have the Toronto Star saying, I guess you're doing all right, and the Post saying you've screwed it all up. I don't know what kind of world I'm living in.
Look, I'm definitely not on Bruce's Christmas card list. But, anyways, I think, look, if depending on where people say often, sometimes as conservatives, if everybody's upset, then you're probably doing a good job. But bottom line is here, I think that this is a plan that is based on science, a plan that's measured, a plan that gives predictability for the summer that I know so many are desperate to have. And thanks to a real Herculean vaccine effort, Robin, I don't think enough's being made. I mean, if we look at equivalency of what the U.S. were doing on their top day and the records we continue to set in Ontario, their population is about 20 times that of what we are here in Ontario. We're vaccinating the equivalent of what they were doing nationwide. I mean, it's just truly incredible, and that's thanks to volunteers, healthcare professionals, the diversified logistical supply chains for it. So, people want a summer, and we want to really kick COVID to the curb. But something I think we can all agree on is that, variants of concern are a real thing, and we're seeing other countries and how they're grappling with that. So we want to make sure we do this in a measured manner so that we're not back at the same dog and pony show. I mean, people want to get their lives back, and this plan puts us on a path to do just that.
You didn't say Doug and Pony Show, did you?
It was Doug and Pony Show. That's what I heard.
Oh, yeah. No, I said Dog and Pony Show.
Okay. All right. Just, it's hard sometimes, Okay. All right. Gilles, Bisson, what do you think of the province's reopening plan?
Well, some of it is good. As you know, last Monday we moved a motion in order to open outdoor activities. That's a bit of a victory. The government went in that direction. So, some of those things are reopening, golf courses and others, and I think that is very appreciated. People, said from the beginning, and so did the medical experts, that could be done safely. The criticism I would give, I guess, would be twofold. One is it's inconsistent in how the rules are applied. I'll just give you an example here in Northern Ontario. This is the sacrosanct weekend of all of the year, what we call the May Run weekend or the 2-4 weekend. You can go park your camper trailer in a private trailer park, like a campground.
Yeah.
But you can't go to the provincial park and you can't go on Crown land. So people who want to go fishing and people who want to go camping for the weekend are extremely frustrated. They say, hang on a second here. I can go to the golf course with my 4 buddies, but I can't go with my family with my camper on Crown land where I'm going to be alone. So there's inconsistencies in how this is applied. And as far as the decision to move towards reopening, I think most of us generally agree. But I think it's a tough one to do, I will admit. But there's a lot of inconsistency in what's been done.
Okay,
and
John,
schools especially.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yeah. John Fraser, what do you think of the reopening?
No, I think what's encouraging is that the government's listening more to the science, and I think it's a cautious approach. I mean, I have concerns with it as well. I didn't see what I thought I might see in there with regards to testing. I know that Dr. Brown raised it in his briefing about we need to keep our testing up and it's falling down, and contact tracing, because you need to know where the fire is going to start. That's how you manage these public health outbreaks. Is you want to be able to get to it fast. So, I hope to see more about that. Clarity on schools. I mean, I know we're going to talk about that later probably, but clarity on schools. And then there's this kind of disconnect we see in Ottawa today where, splash pads are closed after being open for 2 days.
That set a lot of people off. It has, David.
Yeah.
It really has. It's so stinking hot. And if we can't do them here, you can't do it in Port Hope either. So why?
Yeah, so
I guess a lot of people are confused about this, David. Well, what's going on? But it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. It's like, I can go play a round of golf, fine and dandy. You probably shouldn't have closed the golf courses in the first place. But what's with the splash pads?
Yeah, so I admitted I'm not too in tune today to that in Ottawa. I think bottom line is, we're opening outdoor amenities.
Well, I would say if I know you're on Twitter, okay?
Yeah.
But Bonnie Crombie is the mayor of Mississauga. Is that right?
Yeah.
And Patrick Brown, of course, is the mayor of Brampton. They're both saying, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's not just an Ottawa thing. So
yeah. Well, look, COVID has brought us the joys of taking a detailed look on the nuances of like things like splash pads. You're right. I'll follow up with our team immediately after this, and I think government's constantly keeping a very close eye on things, and when you're designing policy for a whole province, you got to look at the nuance, including things like splash pad. I take that point. With respect to John's point about testing, I think I agree with John about testing. You got to continue the testing. I think it's worth noting that what the province has done, with respect to our small businesses, I know our local manufacturers in my community were hooked up with Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade a number of months ago, and are successfully doing a rapid testing that then would lead to a PCR testing if there's concern. So I think that is really important. It's also important that not only are we doing the testing, but that testing's then feeding in through COVAX and the systems, so to report on it province-wide. And that's critical, so that regardless of who's doing the testing, it's feeding into the province-wide system. So that's really important. But I think here, what we've seen again with this plan is a measured plan to reopening that gives people that predictability and things that they want. And I know, for those outdoor activities that folks can start doing this weekend safely, we're not out of the woods yet, but we've got a pathway to get our lives back, and something all Ontarians want.
Okay. Schools. Let's talk about schools, because there wasn't a lot of information about schools yesterday. Certainly no certainty. The Premier is saying there could be he's been told there could be an increase in cases, 11% increase in cases, and that there's not unanimity among health experts about whether schools should be open again or not. What do you think about it, Gilles Bisson?
Well, I don't think there's unanimity within even Mr. Ford himself. If you remember, before we closed down the schools, I guess that was in March or February, whenever it was, the Premier, the Minister of Education, and all the government members were saying, oh, no, don't worry about schools are safe. That's not where most of the contagion is happening. Now he's saying, oh, no, we can't open them because...
Yeah, but your party was running around with its hair on fire saying the schools are unsafe. The schools are unsafe.
Yeah, I didn't disagree, but by making the point, at least we're consistent. Listen, you had the Premier prior to the shutdown saying contagions don't happen in schools. Now he's saying contagions happen in schools. And it points back to the point that I was making earlier, that in fact what you've got is inconsistency in how the government has handled a lot of the decisions, plus some of the decisions, quite frankly, were not made right. We know that there's no unanimity from the health experts when it comes to the reopening of schools. But I'll tell you what is unanimous. Parents and a lot of kids are saying, listen, I need to get back to the classroom. I just got off the phone with a constituent before the show, and that's what she was going. She has a child who does really well at school, who now has anxiety issues as a result of not being in school, and she as a mother is quite concerned, and I don't blame her.
Okay, John, on schools.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. First of all, parents deserve some clarity, and they need to know what's going on. Because we've had a situation throughout the past year. Most recently, schools are going to stay open on a Monday, and then on Tuesday, the government says they're going to close. So, I look at what the Premier said yesterday as really, if I wanted to condense it, is I don't know what to do, which understandable, but he has to provide that clarity to parents. So they're going to have to make a decision. And one of the things I don't, I understand how they're taking the approach, a non-regional approach to this reopening, but I don't understand why we're not looking at schools regionally. And so because I think there's an opportunity in there that it's possible that you can open some schools more safely in some regions because of transmission so it's just. I'm trying to get my head around that one, why they aren't looking at that approach. They may be looking at that.
Well, let's listen to the Premier. Let's listen. This is what the Premier said yesterday.
Well, right now, we have some differing opinions. Dr. Williams, which I always chat with, he's in favor of opening the schools. We have a few doctors on the science table that aren't in favor. Then we have the teachers that want to put an injunction in if we move forward. So we just have to get around the table and make sure we have agreement on this. And I know a lot of parents are anxious, but there's also the fact that you heard this morning through Dr. Brown and Dr. Williams that it could possibly increase cases by 11%. That's concerning with me when it increases 11% because it compounds so quickly.
Okay. All right. David, last word to you for the first segment. Go ahead on schools. Yeah.
I think, we have a very open and transparent science table here, and I think the Premier rightly highlighted live what we're hearing. Ontarians deserve to know exactly what we're hearing. Premier said we would do that, and that's what he's doing. And he's right. On our own science table, we have differing opinions. If we think back, go back in our time machine to this panel many months ago, and certain doctors on the science table, and then my lovely two panelists citing them as, spreading concerns over the stability of the in-school system. So this is what the Premier is trying to address now. I think what would be maybe refreshing on this panel is we can all agree that the call should be out for everyone to find consensus that we can get back and preserve maybe a few weeks in this year. I remain optimistic that we can.
All right.
I think the Premier has a valid point when he talks about the lack of consensus from the science table, and B, with respect to what we know some labor unions have said with respect to vaccines and potential significant action that they would take. Now, we know, to deal with all of that, we need the supply, and we know we're getting more supply, but you can't, we all love to be vaccinated double.
Sure thing.
dose.
Well, I want to talk about vaccines. We'll stop here, David. I want to talk about vaccines. When we come back, we'll get our panelists' take, our MPPs' take on this late-breaking news about the AstraZeneca vaccine and the resumption of dosings. Second doses only, though. This is the Rob Snow Show on City News.
I started, as I said, at Lester's Barber Shop, and it was kind of, it was one of those things that it was just an opportune time for me to get into it, just because he had decided that he was going to retire after the fire, and then the opportunity presented itself that I could open my own shop. And so I went from a 150 square foot space on St. Patrick's Street to a 600 square foot space just on Beechwood to now here, and I'm in a 1,400 square foot space now. And I don't know, it's been an interesting journey because, you think that you're just going to be just you or a really small space, and then all of a sudden, you've got 10 other people working for you. You're in a much bigger space, and even incorporating the boutique. Last March, when all of this started, we closed down a little bit earlier than everybody else, and I'm going to say, being honest, part of it was social pressure. We shut down before everybody else did, and I'm watching all these other salons, just be really responsible and saying we don't want to be a part of the process. So we got ahead of it and closed, and then, the week later, the government's like, everybody's shutting down. And so it was a little nerve-wracking. I guess the first step of us, trying to innovate and just keep moving forward was when the salon is closed, right? It's like, what do you do? Our whole industry is based on being with people, cutting their hair, providing a service. You have to be people together to do that. You can't do that remotely at all. So one of the first things that I saw in our industry, what people were trying to do is they were selling their hair products that they had. And luckily, I've had a website that always had a web store in the back. I just never used it. So as soon as I saw that people were doing that, I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to load up all my stuff. And so that worked out really, really well. And then from there, I managed to find a place that was like a wholesale website that allowed you to have net 60 days. So you don't have to, you can order all the stuff. You don't have to prepay any of it. There's free returns, all that. So that made it really easy for me to bring in other products. and start trying to sell it. And so I went from selling hair products to shave products to bath and body products to a little bit of clothing and jewelry, and now it's just morphed into this whole, like, I want to make it a whole legit boutique. And by December of last year, I decided that this is a full-fledged thing, and we're going to separate it. It's its own company. So it's really finding an opportunity that's there and running with it. So it's been really fun. Our clients are loving it. Our clients that have been here for a long time, they love it.
Firm.
Fair.
Fun.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News 101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
So we're back. Queen's Park Week in Review Part 2 with New Democrat Gilles Bisson, Liberal John Fraser, and David Piccini from the PCs. So the province announced really within the last hour that we're going to resume the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine, but only as a second dose, saying health risks posed by the shots are low for the second dose. So starting next week, and again, we'll have a full report coming up during our noon newscast. Starting next week, those people could opt to receive the second dose at an earlier 10-week interval in order to use up the 55,000 doses currently in refrigerators in pharmacies, families, doctors' offices. They're set to expire at the end of May, so the clock is ticking. Now, John, you're the health critic for the Liberal Party. What do you think about this move here, John?
Well, I had the opportunity to ask the minister in question period, I think on Wednesday this week, because there was concern over wasting doses. I think it's a good thing. I'm glad that the decision came out today. I wish it came out a bit earlier. It sounds like the government's going to be able. We're not going to waste any of those doses. I know that the medical officer of health said, the people who were vaccinated between 10th and the 19th can get their second dose starting next week. So it's just a question of it's a good thing. And hopefully none of those doses will go to waste by the way we distribute it over the next 10 days.
I mean, it's limited time only. It says limited time only.
People need choice, right? Like, in other words, if somebody says, I know, I'm fully aware of the very rare risk that exists there, and I'd like a second dose, then they should be able to get a second dose, and that was the right thing to do.
Okay, Gilles, what do you think before we get to David? Gilles, what do you think?
Well, we Andrew Horwath and the Democrats have been calling on the government to do exactly that for some time now. So we're absolutely happy that the government made this decision. You couldn't imagine being in a situation where we had 55,000 doses expiring and having to throw them out. That's pretty frightful. And I got to think, I'm not a doctor. I don't know this is the case. Yeah. But if people didn't get a reaction from the AstraZeneca on their first dose, I don't know. Does it mean to say they have a very low probability, if any, to get a reaction on the second? So I don't know. That's an interesting.
Well, and again, all of this is as well dependent on supply. And my understanding is there's really in Canada not a lot of this vaccine to go around. So the decisions from Doug Ford's government may be limited, but I do wonder, David, so 55,000 doses, I guarantee you they're going to be snapped up like that. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to take advantage of this. It's a good move. I do wonder what happens after the end of May, however. So, David, what do you think, David?
Yeah, well, I've just, to reiterate what John had touched on there, those who received their first dose between March 10th and 19th, can opt with informed consent. This is what it's all about, informed consent. And as much as, honestly, when Andrew Horwath, as per what Gilles said, stood up and said this, I agreed. I mean, I agreed with what they called on, but thankfully, Andrea Horwath and politicians don't prescribe directions for our vaccines. It's our healthcare professionals. So that's why, as much as I agreed, we had to wait for a direction from our healthcare professionals who reviewed the UK studies. And remember, these are all new vaccines, right? So there are studies happening as we speak. NACI is awaiting clinical trials in the UK on administration of 2 different doses. But the point here for the AstraZeneca doses will not be wasted, and that folks will get that second dose of AZ, as Gilles and John and I probably all agree on. It's about informed consent, and it's based on studies on if you didn't have side effects on the first dose, the risk is infinitely removed for that second dose, and it's given people choice and informed consent based on choice.
Yeah, I think we have a bit more than 55,000 doses. It's just 55,000 that are set to expire.
At the end of May. At the end of May.
But I think there's still some more doses.
Clarification. There is more. Yeah, John's right. It was the 55,000 at the end of May that really was, we were approaching, the clock on. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's another 300,000 or 250,000, something like that.
Well, I mean, we're vaccinating now. It says here, what was the last number I saw? 158,000 doses a day. So they're not going to last long if they're available. Has everybody been vaccinated once, Gilles?
Yep. Yeah, I got vaccinated about 3 weeks ago.
With what one?
Moderna. That's what
Moderna? Okay. Yeah. John, what about you, John?
Yeah, I think ours was April 17th at City Hall. We got, it was a date night, Friday night, Linda and I.
How romantic.
We got it.
Okay.
Yes, we got Moderna.
Moderna. David?
I have not. You
haven't even had one dose yet?
I don't have as great hair as my friend John, but I am a bit younger, and so that is why I have not. I have booked, though, as soon as it went to my age group. I booked first day I was on. I had one of my colleagues, we were on at the same time, booking for one another just in case whoever got it on first. And I did book. I've booked at the Evinrude Center up in Peterborough.
Holy cow. David just Googled how young you are. You're only 32 years old? Holy smokes.
That's correct, yeah.
My God.
Wow.
Just
all my kids are older than you. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not worried that you're waiting then, David. Okay.
No,
all right.
Don't worry.
Okay. All right. That's our time. Look, I always appreciate our conversations, as you know, and we've reached this milestone weekend. My gosh, we're still talking about it. May 2-4.
Let's hope we get through this quicker.
I think there is light, guys, right at the end of the tunnel. So, thank you so much for.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV.